Will Fnatic win the final?
I'm sure of it.
Do you know anything about Olympic sports?
Nothing at all.
Okay, so shot puts, you know, throwing the rock.
Yeah?
Which member of Fnatic would be the best at shot put?
Definitely Broxa.
Oh, that's it, simple. So why are Rogue not here?
Because Larsen booked some tickets.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. We got Fnatic, we got Grubs, we've got LEC, Daddy Broxa. Hello, Deficio.
Hi.
Hello, you.
Hi, me?
Oh,
you don't like it?
No, I don't. We have history, you know, we have beef.
I want you to join us. Like, what's the problem? I'm the one open to a relationship.
So listen, the activations look awesome. When will the Origin booth be done?
Hey, you don't like our wall? It's a fan meet booth.
Okay, so what champion can we expect to see that we've not seen yet?
I can't tell you for sure. I've been having holidays for 2 weeks, so I'm just chilling for now, you know, like.
All right, so where are we gonna go next? I can actually see the Misfits booth. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the Misfits booth, they're doing a silent disco. All right, while we're exploring the activation area, are you a little bit nervous that while I'm talking to you, your hair's gonna get messed up?
A little bit, but it's okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Which one of you wrote Caps be my waifu?
I did. It's Baby Faker. What else can I...
Excuse me, Faker is Baby Caps. Moving on. I remember when you were relevant, you were quite an emotional guy. Not that that isn't true anymore. Are you allowed to talk to your team on finals day?
Of course, they want me to. They want me to.
Surely you're a distraction, Carlos.
I definitely am a distraction, but they don't have any other way because I have to approve the payroll, so they have no other option than just...
Carlos, talk to me now. When you were down 0-2 last week, what was going through your mind?
Oh, I was with my daiquiri on the beach, just not caring, you know. No, the truth is that I had a heart attack.
Okay, quick fire questions now, right? Who will win, Fnatic or Schalke?
Rogue.
What will the score be of G2 versus Fnatic or Schalke?
2-3 for Rogue.
Would you bet all your money right now on saying G2 becomes world champion?
Yes.
There you go.
Welcome to Athens, Greece for the event of the summer, a dream final between G2 and Fnatic. The whole world is watching tonight as the reigning champions in the LEC face off against the most winning team in EU history. Hello everyone, I'm Shox, joined by Ender, Deficio, and Yamato Cannon to bring you all of the action right here from Athens. Woo! We are really underway now. A lot of loud people, a bit louder than yesterday still. And why would they not be? What a day.
I mean, I don't know, because we've got Fnatic, who caught the attention of the world last year at the World Finals, and then G2, the team that caught the admiration of the world at MSI this year, clashing today. It's going to be incredible.
Absolutely, and I do want to take a moment to emphasize the importance and the momentum of today. The World Championship is only a couple of weeks away, and 17 teams have already qualified. Champions have been crowned all around the world, but now everyone is looking at Athens, is looking at this stage, is looking at all of you and at G2 and Fnatic, two of the best teams in the world fighting for the crown and fighting to show what EU is made of. Fantastic. Can I just say for everyone here in the arena, Efkaristo, that you are all here. Oh. It is difficult. Quite a difficult language. So thank you so much for being here. Let's get into the action and also go over what we saw yesterday, the Fish Show. It was Fnatic that reigned victorious over Schalke 04 in quite a simple fashion, I would say.
It was very one-sided.
It was one-sided.
That's very safe to say. I think, Reckless had a great series, specifically down in the bot lane together with Hylissang, but overall, it was a Fnatic team who didn't have to show anything new. They actually just have to go and improve. They are just better than Schalke in every single way, mechanically and also as a team.
I think the big question mark as well was, where is Fnatic's mental strength? And they showed up big time, 3-0. They showed good form, which makes me very excited for this finals.
And I just loved the strategy we were seeing out of them. In typical Fnatic fashion, early game strategy. It was the level 2 play in game 2, the level 1 that was almost picture perfect. That same move they went for 2 games in a row, and they just unwound and demolished Schalke with it.
And I think looking at the last week, you couldn't ask for more right now setting up to this final. Fnatic get G2 all the way to 5 games. Fnatic then 3-0 what is the 3rd best team in Europe yesterday in this arena, which really shows the top 2 teams right now are a level above the rest. And whoever wins today, for the first time ever, we can say they're going to be favorites going into Worlds.
That is incredible just hearing that. And indeed, Fnatic is locked into Worlds because of their win yesterday. G2 is also already locked into the World Championship. And Schalke 04, they will go into the regional qualifiers. This is the bracket. It is almost completely played out. And I think at the beginning of everything, I'm so sorry, the Fish Show, I'm so sorry, Yamato, but many people wanted to see this best of 5.
Everyone's just been waiting, Fnatic versus G2, because these are our 2 best early game teams in the league, the biggest fan bases, the biggest history behind these 2 incredible organizations. It all comes down to this.
I think ever since Caps left Fnatic for G2, this is what everyone was waiting for. Fnatic had a rough start in Spring Split, and now we're here in the finals to round off the entire European split.
And all the players on Fnatic are going to step up, and they did yesterday already. The player of the series was Broxa. Broxa, the same guy who we saw on stage after the reverse sweep last week, put his head in his hands and just tweeting afterwards, "This hurts so bad." Well, that is one way to answer back. It is playing a series like that.
Absolutely untouchable yesterday from the early game strategies that Fnatic implemented. The games were always about Broxa. Game 1, very reckless focus, but after that, it was Broxa securing early game leads, and off of those first few kills, just snowballing the games incredibly.
Yeah, and you mentioned snowballing. I think Broxa, when his team is actually getting hit often through him, he's snowballing harder than any jungler we have in Europe. The amount of plays he pulls off on things like Lee Sin, it's absolutely crazy.
I think the main takeaway with Broxa is that he has these 3 champions that he's very, very comfortable on. He has the Lee Sin, the Gragas, and of course, the Elise. If he has something in store for us, maybe a Sejuani after that 1v1 yesterday, I would be excited to see that today as well.
Yeah, Broxa has really also stepped up as kind of the captain, and people are looking at when you look at this Fnatic squad after the hole that Caps left. Are you guys impressed with the new dynamic that Fnatic has found with that very good mid laner, maybe best in the world, not being in the mid lane anymore, but then having Nemesis and having all the other players step up?
I love this new style of Fnatic because in 2018, it was all about coming to mid lane and making sure Caps was the carry. Caps was getting ahead. I think in 2019, we've seen different styles. It's much more on Broxa to move around the map with Nemesis. When Nemesis can play champions with the ability to roam, it completely has transformed how this Fnatic squad can play the game. And now they put carry resources in top lane, bot lane, mid lane, they can do it all.
All these players stepping out up and throughout the regular season. We saw many individuals step up, but in the end, only one was worthy of the title as MVP, standing next to some of the best in the world. This guy keeps reaching new heights, a true LEC legend. Here is your Summer Split Most Valuable Player.
Goodbye, Reckless now going to be in trouble. The shield not going to matter too much, but he will be able to retrieve the ulti. Panics over the wall, the long shot. Jankos finds his mark, the double drop for Pike, and money in the bank for G2. Jankos will not come out on top of this 1v1 match. It needs to make it out to safety. Where's he going to go? We'll step forward. We'll go right into Humanoid. And the 3-0. Disastrous. That's going to be the shutdown for Jankos. Leader and Dust now is run. Leader could be first. The double kill coming in. Jankos might want to make it a triple, but Dot will leap out to safety. Jankos, perhaps another dive.
Oh, that was a fantastic Cocoon locked inside the baby cane. Now Jackson gets caught on. Jankos reflection of the wall. Cocoon and a venomous bite will secure the kill. Jankos isn't done yet though. Finds another Cocoon.
Jankos on the pal. He dodges from the ulti, and they're going to find Jackson.
Oh man, Cocoon manages to connect. Jackson gets pulled backwards. Another death from below.
Jankos steals away the ult. We'll watch this.
Wait, does he walk into it? What is going on? No way!
Jankos, congratulations on being the 2019 Summer Split LEC MVP! You had the most amazing year. First EU title, first international title, and now first MVP title. How proud are you after all these years?
Well, I'm really happy that after so many years, I can finally show up and play against the best players on the international stage and actually beat them, and at the same time, be really valuable asset to my team and get the MVP.
Watching all these replays you saw, which one will you remember the most? Which was your best moment this year?
Maybe one of the Sejuani games, I don't know.
You know what? Thinking about it, was it worth it for you playing Sejuani the whole year?
I mean, I don't really think that I played the whole year, but as you could see yesterday when she 1v1 Broxa, it's pretty OP, right? So, I mean, I think it's a good champion, but hopefully today I can show up on something that can do more plays.
Did you know that the first and only time a jungler was awarded MVP was Trick, when we also was at G2? How proud are you of following his footsteps?
Well, I mean, I guess G2 has pretty good junglers, but I'm pretty proud of myself. My brother Trick is out since yesterday, but I will avenge him.
What is the most challenging thing when you are the jungler of G2 with such talented players with you?
I think the most annoying thing is that all the laners require a lot of attention, but at the same time, all of them are great players, so it's a pleasure to jungle for them, but sometimes maybe they could wait for me more.
All right. What would you say to people who think that maybe some other members of G2 deserve this award? Why is it yours and yours only today?
Well, I mean, I think I performed really well this year, and this split as well. And I was the only one playing Sejuani, so I guess that's why.
As the MVP, you will have a big task tonight. You will have to shine and bring your team to another trophy. Broxa said some strong words yesterday, but why will these finals be yours once again?
Well, I mean, Broxa wants to steal Carlos' lunch money, but the victory dinner after today's finals is on me.
Any last words you would like to say to the fans who watched you and supported you the whole year?
Well, I'm really grateful to all the fans that did support me. I'm grateful to Athens for, all of the people being here today, and I hope you guys will cheer for both teams. But G2 will be on top.
Congratulations once again, Jankos, and of course, good luck on today. Now back to you, Shox.
Thank you very much, Long. Also, a big congratulations from all of us here on the desk. An absolutely deserved MVP in Jankos Yamato. You know him very, very well. It must also feel good for you to see him get this trophy.
I'm very happy for him, very proud of him. I got the pleasure of working with him back in the Rocket days, which was a very long time ago. And even last split, he was considered the best player who has never won a split, and now he has the MVP title. He went from the first Blood King to the most diverse jungle in Europe. So this growth has been immense, and he had that special thing already in the Rocket days. So I'm very proud of him.
He deserves it all, and today he is going to play that all-important war on the Rift. But there is another one going on, and that is on Twitter. Now, if you follow G2 Esports on Twitter or Fnatic, you might see that they like to banter back and forth. And we thought to get us in the moods for this final, we wanted to rehash some of the tweets that we have seen. And the first one coming up is from G2 Esports, I believe. It says, at Fnatic, what is this called in your country? Holy moly, taking some inspirations from some double lift there.
Yeah, I guess a little bit right there. Greece, do you have an answer for this guy, for G2? What is this?
It's hard to make out. I think we're 50-50 split on G2.
Brave try.
Like oh, man.
Is it weird champ? Is that possible?
I'm pretty sure. That's usually what they say.
No, okay, let's go over to the next one as well. What is that tweet? All right, so... Okay, guys, I think we have memed on Fnatic now, so maybe we should relax things a bit. Well, that time won't stop me, because I can't read. That is one of my personal favorites. Yamato, there's a lot of words about banter and if it's okay or not and what it does. What do you think about G2's strategy to get in their heads?
I think this is the G2 way. They're very loose with their words, loose in their play, and it's something that we come to expect by now. So I'm very happy that one team has that boldness and back it up as well.
Yeah, it helps that they just win every time as well, Shox.
Are we getting a Fnatic tweet?
I'm not sure. See, the thing is, we were curating them, and Fnatic was a bit more, I would say, less trash-talking overall on Twitter. It was G2 who threw out more. I know that Origin does not approve of this kind of name-calling, but we're still going to take a look at it.
We're 9 teams who are basically getting attacked by G2 these days.
That's
so I think we're all in this together.
Let's take a look at the next one. Okay, Fnatic, they have the best bot lane LEC, so Ferg and have no chance. Plus, Broxah can deal with Jankos, and Fnatic solo laners can definitely...
These are just win conditions
These are win conditions, it's perfect. I mean, all of them were true for 2.5 games last week.
It's true, yeah.
So I'm not sure if they have to be so funny.
So I'm pretty sure the clown is supposed to be a Fnatic fan right there, saying why Fnatic's going to win.
Oh
I saw that guy earlier.
Yeah. Did you? All right, final one, so that we're all warmed up for today, is coming from, I think, someone from the broadcast crew. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in G2, honestly. I just think it was kind of pathetic that G2 could not get every single award this split, and I really just hope they bounce back in 2020.
So basically, next time you want them to get a rookie, so they can also put the rookie in for enough games. You can actually vote for that
rookie.
I guess there's a minimum of amount of games you can play, but this seems like a mission for Ocelot.
I think it's like 4 games, 3 or 4 games.
Yeah,
you have
put someone
to
in to play 4 games. Great. Well,
actually, I believe in the current rules, if you put Ocelot in now, he would count as a rookie.
He would count as a rookie. Oldest rookie
but he
ever.
played already.
Love it.
Yes,
okay,
too many years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, then we can be rookies.
Yeah, we could be rookies too.
Well, G2 and Fnatic, they're very busy battling it out on Twitter. And meanwhile, Wonder, he's running around in Azeroth. So, Dracos, how is it going with this World of Warcraft account?
He's level 51, and he has an epic ring.
Fantastic. Glad that we have that epic.
What does that even mean?
All right, now that we know basically everything important, right? We know who the MVP is, we know who has the hottest Twitter banter, we know what level Wonder is. We're gonna really dive into this best of 5, because tonight we get the dream that finals that fans have waited for months. Europe, I'm going to try it over. Tonight, we get the final that we have all been waiting for as Europe's two titans battle for the LEC title and that first seed for World. Thank you for the support. Sometimes it goes wrong. G2 Esports versus Fnatic, and they are both nothing less of super impressive. The winningest team in EU history, starting off with G2 Esports, who started all the way back 5 years ago and now finds themselves here.
Yeah, and it goes back even further than that too, right? With Fnatic in 2011, all the way at the beginning, winning titles before I even knew League of Legends existed. This team has been around from the very beginning, and it's always been the rest of Europe looking up to this team.
Which is also why it's very fitting that it was G2 Esports who really stopped the dominance. You know, Alliance got one win in there, but it was G2 who said, no, we can take more than a single split. They got 4 in a row, stopped Fnatic from dominating in Europe, and now, again, this year, G2 are back on top.
I feel like, you know, as an LEC competitor, Fnatic and G2 are the teams that you always have to chase and overcome and beat. And I feel, you know, I'm thinking about the World Championship, knowing that these two teams qualified is going to be a banger, that's for sure.
It's going to be absolutely fantastic. 5 titles versus 7 titles. Also, the Golden Road, still a possibility for G2 Esports if they win both European titles and MSI and Worlds. But that seems like we're going a bit too far before we've even played the final.
Depends on who you ask. If you ask Carlos or anyone from G2, they're already looking towards that World Final.
Yes, and last week, of course, we got a taste of what this best of 5 is going to look like, as in the round 2 of the playoffs, G2 played Fnatic in the Kings match, and it was such a great match, all the way to 5 games.
Yeah, and at the start, it looked like Fnatic was going to 3-0 G2. Such a huge surprise from this team, who used incredible early game pressure and strong skirmishing to get out to a lead. But in game 3, everything turned. Crucial team fighting around the Baron, and Wonder stepping up so massively.
Yeah, and it was almost like they kind of broke Fnatic, you know, when they didn't finish that one game, G2 realized, okay, there are certain things we have to remove, and they also started playing better individually. We have to highlight that. First couple of games, Fnatic were just better on the Rift if you look at each player in each lane against each other. But I think the last couple of games turned back towards G2. And that's why you're kind of sitting now, being a little bit confused of going into this game. Like, what level do you see G2 at? We know Fnatic will play well. Will G2 match that or beat that instantly?
The mere fact that mechanically Fnatic went blow for G2, even that they lost the series in the end, does that instill you with a lot of hope for this best of 5 and the rematch?
I think what's scary is that I feel like at the end of the first best of 5 that we saw, I felt like G2 figured them out completely. And looking at the series from yesterday, I didn't feel like Fnatic had to show anything. So it all comes down to what has Fnatic in their pockets, what are they hiding?
Is G2 a team that generally does well with information from these teams, maybe even the best out of any team in the league?
I mean, this team, we've seen it. They've gone to international events. They've done so well. They know how to prep for their opposition. But I do think there are still options for Fnatic. You know, we look just at that game 3 when they weren't fully relying on globals to get an early lead. There are tools to fight back.
Yeah, but the odds seem to be stacked against Fnatic. But Fnatic, they have 7 titles for a reason. What is there in here? What do they have to focus on today?
I mean, we know there's some key picks for Fnatic that they really want to use and actually used against G2 last week. You know, looking at things down the bot lane, like Yuumi is most successful for them. G2 actually banned that away. I think that can be a big one. I'm also looking at things like, you know, Aatrox that get banned away every game, Hylissang getting Rakan. Like, there are key picks for this team they can use to dominate with. And we've seen all split long that some of these picks down here are very successful.
Right, I think we also have to focus in on the Twisted Fate, which I expect to be perma-banned here from the side of G2, because Fnatic plays so well with that champion, and especially with globals, because the way G2 like to play is very fast, very loose. They like to fight you and scrap you all around the map. If you have a global tool like the Twisted Fate, you can instantly respond and shut that down. That's what we saw in the first 2 games when he constantly went top lane and didn't allow Wonder to even play the game.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Nemesis Twisted Fate is banned for the rest of the season. I'm looking at the picks that G2 brought to the table. I remember the Kled that brought them to that Game 3 victory that was so clutch, and all these picks that are overlapping. We think about Hylissang Pyke and the Hylissang Rakan, but Mickey X Pyke, Mickey X Rakan is just as strong, and I think G2's champion pool is so vast that I'm expecting more picks today even.
But it's also very fascinating with Nemesis and kind of like what playstyle do you bring to the table when you play against Caps. You know, he was successful on the roaming, the push and roam style. I actually look at him as well saying that is your strength right now. Having to try and win pure 1v1 against Caps is often not the greatest call. If there are other champions where you can get priority in pushing and then go to top lane, go to bot lane, that's what Fnatic does so well. They use pressure in lanes to roam.
It's so interesting knowing that we've already seen 5 games, and we even saw in that 5th game, Fnatic was pushed to their limits in terms of what they picked, because G2 just brings so much
ran out of picks.
They ran out of pick, just put it that way. So that does concern me for the draft phase for them, and I'd love to see what they're going to go for in the first game. A couple of matchups we do also need to talk about is in the jungle first and foremost. Jankos, he was just crowned the Summer Split MVP, but Broxa is right behind him. How much is this going to influence the best of 5?
It's going to be such a crucial matchup here, Shocks. And for me, Jankos on your screen, the best jungler in the LEC. There's a reason why he won MVP. And I think there's a misconception commonly when you see a team like G2 with such stacked roster, it's easy to play jungle. That's what people say. That is not the case, because when you have 3 different lanes that want to fight and want to go in all the time, you need to be so smart and efficient with your time, and Jankos is exactly that.
For sure, as you're saying, you have to play perfect, and on top of that, you have to be able to play every champion. Because sometimes in champions, like all of a sudden, your solo lane is like, I don't want to play this one. You play Pyke, you play Kiana, you play Sylas, and Jankos is delivering in all of these champions. We always think of his Sejuani thing, but he has played many, many different ones this split.
Now, we're talking a lot about champ pools, you know, both for Fnatic as a team, now also in the jungle matchup. I want to highlight that the fact that Fnatic got all the way to 5 games last week, have had a week now to figure out, okay, what else do we need to add? It's just 1 or 2 more picks per player. That's all you need in a best of 5 extra. If you're a Fnatic now, you don't need to add 10 new champions. So I think for them, having a week to prepare could be huge for them. I expect G2 to play somewhat the same as they've already done.
Yeah, that's a great point. Of course, they had some more time. And when we look not only at the picks, but just at the players, the icons, and the legends that are on stage today, it is unbelievable what 10 players we have playing in this 5v5. But 2 that we want to highlight specifically is Perkz versus Reckless. On the one side, a guy who hasn't played Marksman for longer than a year and already has an international title to show for it, versus Reckless, who is fantastic and still chasing that biggest trophy.
For so long, it has been Reckless on top of Europe, and all the other AD carry players looking up towards him as the best in the region. It's been a long time since he's faced a legitimate challenge, but now in the finals, it is Perkz looking down on him.
For sure. I remember the last one, which was Sven versus Reckless, the OG versus Fnatic series that went to 5 games, and that the big question mark was, who is the best ADC? And we can ask that same question today. We have Reckless versus Perkz. It's going to get really, really wild.
So many interesting matchups. Is there a person we've forgotten? Is there anyone else that you say, I'm going to put my money on this guy to perform out of his mind today?
I mean, we haven't talked about Wonder really, except for the Kled pick. He's the best top laner in Europe. We have also not talked about a guy who's won multiple MVP titles. A lot of people consider him the best player in the West. That's Cap.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of names we're missing out on the G2 side, but I think Fnatic, you're not going to win this game individually. You're actually going to win it by having more pressure in the early game as a team.
As we get there, then tell me about the win conditions. Fnatic, slight underdog, big underdog, depending on who you ask. How do they win this trophy?
I think for Fnatic, it must start in the bottom lane, and we need to see Hylissang on comfort picks. I want to see him on the likes of the Pyke or the Rakan. He is so good on those champions and can carry games for Fnatic when he is on those. And also, through those types of picks, you can control the mid lane. Fnatic, all the time, look for these 3v3 plays around the mid lane where Broxa and Hylissang team up to attack. If they can do that, they can shut down Caps and start controlling from the center of the map.
For sure, and also something that what were showcased yesterday was a special Fnatic homemade meal, which is just carry through Reckless, pick the Karma, play around him, and just put Reckless on a pedestal to take over the game, and that was showcased big time yesterday.
As we see the players here, they're about to take the stage for the opening ceremony. Tell me about G2. How do they win today, Fischer?
Well, I think the big thing, remove globals. Twisted Fate, take it away. If there's another global showing up, maybe look to remove that as well later on in the series. And then kind of the counter to Ender's point about, Hylissang specifically, is actually counter-pick support. I think Mickey, if he counter-pick support and he doesn't play like he did in the first couple of games last week, then G2 can win the bot lane, and that shuts down Fnatic hard.
I also want to add, they can focus on that 2v2 mid. If they enable Caps, all of a sudden he can take over the map, and he can be the roamer instead of Nemesis if he gets the space to do so.
Which then actually sets up, if you win the mid laner as G2, then you can have stronger side lanes with Wonder, obviously,
Are they going to keep going
Caps
these
as
win
well.
conditions for
So
G2?
then your 1v1 can actually be super strong.
And on top of that, everyone in this team can carry. You know, we talk about who we want to highlight. We could have talked forever about every single individual. And Mikiak with those engages, Wunder, when everything falls apart, he's the one that carries with the Kled, with the Rise, with whatever. So everyone can carry on this team.
It's unfair. He gets 1 or 2 win conditions for Fnatic, and you have 7 for G2.
All you need is 1 or 2. You don't need 10.
1 or 2. Let's take a look at predictions as we get closer and closer to the opening ceremony and kicking off our finals for G2 Esports versus Fnatic. There we go. 2 Fnatic votes and 2 for G2. We are split down the middle on the desk.
We got to hear the Fnatic.
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, I think Fnatic should have 3-0'd last week against G2. They were in the position to be able to do it. They proved they could compete on a mechanical level. They had the early game strategy to beat it. Now it's their time to do it.
We'll see. Tonight is a series years in the making as 2 fierce rivals fight for the title in the City of Champions. Ladies and gentlemen, join us in counting down towards the LEC Summer Final.
This AD carry versus AD carry. Miraculous says not today!
Growing up, I always watched LEC, and seeing the Eastern teams always smashing my favorite pro players was kind of sad. Now, more than ever, we have the best shot of actually proving that Europe actually wins the whole thing.
Chunked out a number of autos. Take a look at that! The Hextrigger shield! And Caps turns it around! G2's dominance has been truly challenged, but they were not conquered.
So who wants to kill the king?
I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure that we can get our revenge.
Get some plates, they now have their eyes set on mid. Fnatic trying to match the play, trying to look for a little bit more. The flash out too, Brox is too clean.
The only proper way to end this summer split is having a G2 Fnatic final.
But may just be caught out again. No, Java was can't find the opportunity. Brox the kickback, the kick flash from Brox is too clean. But he's running for his life. The 80 carries are still alive, they're still untouched. Whippo goes in, he's trying to save the day. He does so much damage. The resets are there for the Pike.
We didn't come here just to beat Schalke. We're here for one thing, and that's to beat G2 and get our revenge.
I dare you all to come and challenge me on the edge. That's where I have the most fun.
I don't think G2 is the best team in the world. I don't think anybody's the best team in the world until they go up on that world stage and prove it.
I don't think we're gonna lose this split. I already visualize myself lifting the trophy.
When we enter the stage in Athens, we're gonna have a 6th man on our team, and that's gonna be the fans.
We're going to prove exactly why we're G2, why we're the team that won MSI, and why we deserve to represent Europe at the biggest stage.
Peak League of Legends is European, and this is what it looks like. "12 weeks in the making, 8 teams defeated and discarded, 2 challengers survive, 1 your champion. Today is bigger than a final, more important than Fnatic and G2. Today, the world is watching, and we are going to send a message. We are EU. Athens, your history was forged in battle. Athens, you are the birthplace of competition. Athens, this is your moment. Europe, this is your signal. Are you ready for the LEC Summer Split Finals? Today's final features the best teams in Europe, the most successful organizations in our region, and only one will be victorious. Etched onto this trophy is G2 Esports. And today, Fnatic are going to stop them. Athens, shall we meet your combatants? In the top lane, G2 Wonder! Fnatic's Whippo! In the jungle, Summer Split MVP, Yankos! Fnatic's Broxah! In the mid lane, G2 Caps! For Fnatic, Nemesis! In the battle for the bot lane, G2 Hurts! Fnatic's Reckless! In support, G2 Mickey, Fnatic Hellison, Athens, I ask you now, will G2 be your champion? Or will Fnatic reign supreme? Fnatic versus G2 in form in Athens. Grabs, there is a lot of support for Fnatic.
You know, Trevor, the crowd is usually wrong, so today's the same. And general, let's flip again against him.
Oh, some fighting talk against the general. Young Buck, how do you respond to Grabs and the G2 army?
Last week, we went very easy on you guys. Athens, do you want to go hard on G2 tonight?
Ladies and gentlemen, your LEC Summer Finals, G2 versus Fnatic starts right now.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot, and it is my profound honor to be joined by Vedius and Foskuin on the caster desk for this. The first time we've ever had Vedi for a final, and Foskuin is just the icing on top of the delicious cake we have today.
And what a wonderful final that we will have the pleasure of casting. Fnatic versus G2, both teams on form. Last week, we got all 5 games. And today, expectations are that we can get the same again.
And that's kind of the question. Have G2 figured out the blueprint on how to take down Fnatic since the last time they formed? Or, as Deficio said on the desk, have Fnatic got something secret up their sleeve rumbling? They said that they got better practice, that they're in better form, and they're ready to take it to them.
That's always going to be the question. After we saw such a barnstorm over series last week, are the teams going to be able to bring the same form into the finals in Athens? Are they going to have prepared anything different in the week between? Because these are our two most successful organizations in the history of the LEC, battling it out consistently at the top of the chart.
And frankly, I think the expectation is everyone buckle up, because this is going to be an explosive, bloodthirsty match. These are our two best early game teams in the region. Fnatic had G2's number every single time that last best of 5, except for the final game where G2 made the largest gold lead Europe has ever seen at 15 minutes. This will not go quietly into the night.
It was only yesterday we saw Fnatic demolish Schalke. Seems like the fans in Athens are hoping for another Fnatic win, but we are just on the cusp of jumping into Champion Select for our first game, and I know G2 have a lot to say in this best of 5.
I'm just so excited to see these two teams go at it once again. We know it's going to be a bloodbath. We know that both these teams are going to be looking for early game plays. We got to see some great creative level 1 strategies from Fnatic yesterday. Have G2 prepared something? Because let's not forget the last final that G2 was in, they set an international record. The last European final they were in, they set a European record. These guys break records when it comes to finals.
And looking forward to the draft, it was G2 that selected for the blue side. Now, that was also what they took in that best of 5, and the strategy was, okay, deny the Twisted Fate, take away the Rakan with a priority pick. And I'm wondering if G2 are going to run that exact same strategy as the Game 1 tester. Push Fnatic, see if they've got anything else or if they've already figured them out for this best of.
I feel like Twisted Fate is definitely going to be on the ban table from the side of
100%.
G2. Last week, they left both the Twisted Fate and the Yuumi up in the very first game. They came prepared with the strategy that did not work in Game 1, but I would imagine that G2 will either be playing and practicing the Yuumi a lot themselves coming into this week, or will have a special answer to it. Perhaps maybe not the Mordekaiser Pike this time.
I don't want the Mordekaiser Pike again.
It could work though, you know. We don't see Perkz teleporting up at level 5 to the top lane. Maybe G2 will run it back and try and use that combination. But all I know today is there's going to be bloodshed. There's going to be early game fights. Only yesterday, Broxah demolished Schalke in the early game on his Lee Sin. Has some incredibly strong matches, and we'll see if he can bring that form into today.
And I don't think you need us to tell you that this crowd, little bit Fnatic heavy. Broxah said it himself yesterday that they're going to have the 6th man of the crowd behind them, the 7th man of their 7 championships behind them.
But don't let that count out the G2 fans that are very vocal in the crowd as well. They are here, they are supportive, and they want to see G2 make the run for the Golden Rose. Have the Spring Split title under their belt, the MSI title, the Summer title, and last but not least, the Worlds title to round things out.
Well, G2 are a team to set records, and the Golden Road has never been done before. We'll see if they can take the next step along it with a victory today. But we're going to jump on into Champion Select. G2 on the blue, Fnatic on the red. And we'll see if that Twisted Fate, if that Yuumi gets banned away, because so far we only have an Aatrox and Qiyana banned.
So it looks like that they are continuing with the bans that they ran against Fnatic in the last few games against them last week. Aatrox and Twisted Fate taken off the board. Fnatic copying the same strategy that they had last week, again with the Qiyana and Yasuo. They do not want to give G2 Esports these picks.
But now that you have 3 picks and one of them will slip through, that's the Akali, the Sylas, as well as the Yuumi. With the Rakan being banned, does this put priority on a Yuumi first pick if Fnatic don't pick it here, or will G2 get their flex pick of the Akali?
And that's the thing, because G2 have had this week to practice the Yuumi to make sure they are adept at it, it makes it very difficult for Fnatic, and you can see them saying, okay, we can't risk Mickey picking up that Yuumi, we're going to have to ban it away, but that unleashes so much power for G2.
The curveball here. We know that both Mickey and Hilly, incredible, accomplished Pike players, and I just said Mickey and Hilly, I need to throw in the rest of G2 while we're at it.
This was something in the second time during the regular season when G2 and Fnatic met, where Fnatic, following that game, said, we can't afford to leave Pike open against this team. Every time it is up, Mickey is terrifying on it. Now, while they were able to get the better of them in game 1 of the best of 5 last week, it is still something you always have to respect when it is in Mickey's hand.
But that now means that giving away this priority pick, prioritizing the Pyke, you allow the Akali to be picked up, preferably for Nemesis. You have things like Brox's Gragas available. The Xayah is still a possibility. Kai'Sa was flash. There are so many power picks that Fnatic can grab on 2 and 3.
Remember that Fnatic could not ban out the Sylas this time round, which means they may have to put a priority on it this round in the draft, and that's exactly what they do. They're trying to limit G2's answers to the Akali, and now they're the ones saying to G2 Esports, what have you got left in the tank to answer our double, even triple flex pick?
Well, straight away, G2 are going to lock in the Gragas. Expect that to be going to Jankos in the jungle in a pick that Wonder shone on so much last week. The Kled locked in before that second phase of ban.
And we do suspect that it will be a top lane Kled after Wonder's performance, but I will remind everyone in the LPL, it also is flexed into the mid lane position. And
in the LPL, everything's flexed for us.
I've seen some crazier things come out. So again, that question that Vedius brought up, this idea of what do G2 have into the Akali Sylas, potential triple flex if that Sylas goes into the jungle.
We will see the Xayah locked in for Fnatic as well. Not too surprising, rather, given that Reckless put a lot of value on this not only yesterday, but also last week when they played up against each other. So you can see a lot of strong picks locked in for the side of Fnatic. And if you're looking at many teams around the world, you see this draft from Fnatic, you're thinking, okay, this is already looking very good, but they're going up against G2, who have got a lot of comfort picks of their own.
And now we expect to see that mid lane pinch, so you can already see the Syndra go through. If they also want to get rid of the Corki, a very safe champion into both the Sylas and the Akali that can survive it and try to hyper scale for that late game.
Pinching the mid lane here by Fnatic does mean that AD carry will be left open. The Kai'Sa is still a very viable option for G2. We saw them flash it earlier on. G2 trying to remove some of the stronger supports from Hylissang with the Thresh back.
I think it's really easy. Perkz has so many options he can go towards. So not necessarily just the Kai'Sa, but also the Ezreal, especially if that is going to be Mickey's Pyke roaming around. Ezreal will be a very safe pick, which is why I'm glad that Fnatic say, no. You will lane against us. You don't get to just sit back and farm with Q and allow Mickey to cause terror everywhere.
Yeah, it looks like they want to try and put Perkz on the Kai'Sa. Fnatic could be looking at a Nautilus pick for themselves. Save the flexibility until the final rotation on red side. We'll see what G2 look to ban away, and it will be the Shen. So they want to try and deny that both in support along with on the top side for Fnatic.
Yeah, getting rid of the Shen, getting rid of one of those globals that was so impactful in the series last week. Now, Fnatic have a couple of options here. Could look to pick their support, so they have a counter pick up last, and that seems to be where they're going.
The Morgana and the Nautilus are kind of the two picks that stand out. How much safety do you want versus how much engaged you need to break?
Ooh, the Jax. This is actually something that was banned heavily. Ooh, okay, they're going to make an immediate pivot towards the Leona. Very lane-dominant champion. Provides a lot of crowd control in team fights as well. With a quick response from G2, going for the Lucian. And this could be Caps' LeBlanc.
You have to bring the mobility. Now you're dealing with a long-range engage tool, because that's what Fnatic were really missing, which is why I didn't like the Morgana hover. They need the Leona ultimate to really kick things off for them, because otherwise it's so hard to start fights. But that means in response, G2 grab things with dashes, the LeBlanc, the Lucian. It's going to be very difficult to lock them down and to find that ult.
I mean, the great thing for Fnatic there was they knew that LeBlanc had been locked in. They knew where G2 were taking these champions, and so they had that counter pick for last. They lock in the Jax. They say, we'll take Sylas in the jungle, we'll take Akali in the mid lane, and we'll try and have some of these scaling threats later in the game.
But outside of just the scaling threats, Fnatic have a very well-balanced composition. You look at that, you can easily see the 1-3-1 capabilities at the post-level 6 as soon as Sylas is 6 in that jungle. But also, first item Akali, super powerful. First item Xayah to 3 item Xayah, incredibly powerful. I think they've got every single base covered, no matter what point it is of the game.
I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of skirmishing. I'm looking at this draft from G2 and I see so much mobility, as Frost was saying, and I feel like that they don't need a huge amount of items to be strong. They only need that level 6 mark. Once they get those early levels under their belt, they can start looking for fights, looking to try and shut down this Jax. And I think that's going to be extremely important for G2, because if you just freely leave this Fnatic composition to scale, as you said, Frost, they have those options, they have those items, they have the champions and the comp in order to challenge G2 in these mid to late game fights.
Which is why I'm looking at a pick like our MVP, Jankos, having something like a Gragas, the ability to get off those early games, and he can attack any lane he wants, especially when he starts pairing up with Mickey. We expect this to be about roaming jungle support.
Well, we are almost ready for game one of this best of five. Fnatic versus G2, the final that everyone expected, the final everyone was waiting for. These two titans of European League of Legends clashing on Summoner's Rift once again. We want fire and fury, we want fights and failures, we want bloodshed. Fnatic G2, this is your moment. Europe is watching, the world is watching, and they are waiting to see just how much you've got.
And what better way to do it than with locking in some of the signature picks for both of these teams. The Pyke for Mickey. We get to see Hylissang's Leona. Now, admittedly, not one of his signature picks, but something that I'm sure will create a lot of chaos, especially once he hits that level 6 mark. One of the big things about Leona is that while she is skill shot reliant, her chain CC, her ability to stack on top of setup for the Zaya's feathers, means that if a single one lands, you're likely gonna die.
It also means that if Mickey does pick his moments to roam, Fnatic have brought tools to punish Perkz if he's ever alone in the lane with that chain CC and with that zone control that you're talking about that Xayah and Leona can bring.
And as much as Leona is a champion that you can see Hylissang playing, the aggressive playstyle, the ability to make plays, he hasn't played it since 2015 on Unicorns of Love. He's only played it 4 times in LEC history. This is a callback for Hylissang, and we'll see just how effective he can be on it.
We're also going to be looking at this top lane matchup as well, because every time Whippo played against the Kled last week, he was struggling. He didn't get jungle resources, he was left on an island, and Wonder got the better of him every single time. Now, he's on a matchup where he can actually skirmish and fight him in the early game, and he outscales the Kled later on into the game. You can already see he's getting a lot of successful trades down against Wonder, and this is going to be a big point that Fnatic can look to leverage early on.
Hylissang trading here onto Mickey. The Zenith Blade lands, Ignite goes down onto Hylissang, and Mickey's flash away, but the Ignite is taking it back! Perkz tries to answer back, but Fnatic strike first.
And 2 minutes into the game, Fnatic's bot lane again pushed G2's bot lane around. This is what happened all series the last time these teams faced. But here comes Jankos.
Jankos coming in, the root call is going to land though, and Perkz just about able to escape. Jankos flashes forward, looking for the slow onto Reckless. Perkz will take the kill, and now Hylissang has to walk away.
This was the bloodshed that we all came for. This is G2 versus Fnatic already. The 2 versus 2 kills coming down bot. Jankos has now hit level 3. Broxah is back in base, so the likelihood of a counter gank not going to come down from the side of Fnatic.
But again, just to re-emphasize, it was Mickey the last time these teams faced.
Jankos going back in, Reckless, base check straight into it, but he'll take down Perkz, and here comes Hylissang! The TP comes in! Jankos takes down Reckless, but Hylissang's going to get counter kill, and now double TP's coming in. Whippo and Wonder join the fight in the bottom lane. Hylissang trying to survive, flashes forward, stuns up Mickey, it's a double for Hylissang! And now Wonder and Whippo are going to fight. Wonder has the red buff, but Whippo can keep chasing in. Wonder's going to get dismounted, and now Whippo realizes he can't fight anymore. Broxah was on his way down, but he can't find the connection.
G2 recognize that the jungler could be in the bot side of the map. Whippo does have a level advantage
right now.
They don't want to try and dive Wonder. He's too difficult on the champion. Already 7 kills, 3.5 minutes into the game.
And the important thing being that all of those summoners are now down for those bot lanes. So I think it's only going to continue to snowball from here. I see no reason for either of these teams to let up on the aggression of the bot lane. The TPs are down, the flashes are down, and you have so much CC and setup for these junglers.
So Wonder will be able to back first, start making his way up towards top lane, and he needs to do that, because if we have a look at the top lane wave, there's actually a slow push, while Broxah looks for a gank in mid.
Broxah going in, Caps poured out a little bit here, Nemesis looking for the shuriken, but won't quite connect, and Caps is going to jump back. Should be able to survive this pretty easily.
So with the information that Jankos has on Broxah, he's able to invade towards the top side and actually steal away some of these Raptors. A huge wave is going to be stacking up towards top lane, and I wonder if G2 could look for a gank. Whippo does have his flash available, and you can see Jankos pathing his way up top.
And you already briefly mentioned the dive potential of Kled. You were talking about his safety, of course, his ability to juggle the aggro with Skarl, so they could look for a play like this.
Jankos has been spotted out, teleport available for Nemesis. Broxah coming down towards the bottom lane as Mickey will just jump away. Jankos is behind this, but not looking for the dive yet.
It's too dangerous now that Nemesis has reset and has access to the TP, so wisely G2 say, we're going to let it crash. We can't follow the Akali up, let it go.
So as we crest the 5-minute mark, it's been action-packed, but let's have a look at exactly how these early kills have affected the game. There's only 600 gold between the two teams. Fnatic slightly ahead. You've got the remnant of the Aspect finished on Hylissang. His support item is up there, but in terms of AD carries, they're still both pretty even in that bottom lane.
Really, a big difference was also for the fact that Mickey, having gold to go for the boots, didn't get to upgrade any of his support itemization. So we'll see if he's able to either get back to the lane faster with those boots, keep himself topped up, or start making more plays, kind of skirmishing in this early jungle with the added mobility.
Broxah is investing a huge amount of time towards the bot side of the map. He's here to offer some support towards Fnatic. He recognizes that they're pushing in this lane. He wants to be there so that they can push it underneath the tower and get the bounce back. I don't think they should go for a dive, even though there are no summoners. Jankos is in position, but Nemesis is making the row.
Especially because that cleanse on Perk's just about to come up.
They're looking for it. Better to pop here by Jankos. He starts to run away, but G2 wants to defend that tower. Don't want to lose these plates too early. Zenith Blade doesn't quite connect, and that is G2's go signal to try and get back to the tower. One plate forward for Mickey. Could look for the Stewart. Hits Hylissang. The rest of Fnatic aren't here anymore. Hylissang so tanky, but at the moment, Perks is just shredding through him. Nemesis coming in from the side, has that level 6, but won't come in for the gank.
G2 are just wasting Fnatic's time right now. Nemesis is in between two lanes, not really sure whether he should come and help for the fight. Meanwhile, Mickey is continuing the chase.
Now, while Fnatic didn't get anything off of that, and I agree with you that G2 did buy up a lot of the time on the play, Fnatic also didn't really lose anything. They got the plate, the wave had been pushed in by Nemesis in the mid lane, so he had room to make the roam, and Whippo is continuing to be a terror up into that top side. You can't see anything reflected in the CS, so overall, I still call it a win for Fnatic.
Looking at Hylissang right now, something that he often likes to do every time he resets is look for a roam. But given that there are no summoners towards the bot side of the map, it looks like that he's actually just going to head straight towards bot lane. I think he wants to respect the fact that Nemesis does need to reset, pick up a couple more items, and respect to him in this matchup, even though he's looked for a couple of roams and has struggled in terms of the 1v1 against LeBlanc, he's staying relatively close in the farm.
And speaking of roams, we now see the mobility boots on Mickey. Frosky mentioned it earlier on. He does like to look for some of these ganks, help out Caps, try and get some of these skirmishes early on.
It's mid-time, boys.
Yeah, Mickey has hit level 4. This is usually the level around which both supports like to roam around the map, but because Hylissang prioritized upgrading his vision trinket, he's not going for mobility boots, so instead he's focusing more on playing around Reckless and helping him get through what has been a pretty chaotic laning phase.
And really, he's just clearing out a nice pathway for more ganks. Jankos now sleeping in underneath this lane, but Mickey has gone all up and down that river and knows that it's clear for now with Fnatic vision.
So let's have a look at what summoner spells are available. Flashes have come up for Perks, Mickey, and Reckless. None available on Hylissang right now. TP's unavailable, and Wonder is making a roam towards bot. G2 heavily investing in this play.
Great flash away from Reckless. Hylissang will be able to tank this up for the moment. Mickey's going to land the skewer, the pullback. Jankos there with the belly bump, and it's shut down. Hylissang is going to fall. Reckless underneath the tower, but they could look for a further dive.
Beautifully executed from G2. No flash available on Hylissang. He tried to use the minion to avoid it, and then the smite comes down from Jankos to allow Mickey to land the bone skewer. G2 find a kill, they equalize the kill score, and they're going to grab themselves some plates.
But they still have pulled Wonder. He's walked all the way here, now probably going through mid lane to get back into the top lane as the wave's crashing into him. Whippo will pick up another plate and has so much more CS underneath him.
Look at Mickey.
Waited in the bush. Box is just around at the corner. Reckless, maybe thinking that he could be in there. Mickey will just about complete his back. Whippo still in the top lane, pushing in, looking for that second plate. Wonder is on his way up, and early on in this game, it has been absolute chaos, I have to say.
Now we can see a gold difference starting to be built towards Fnatic. A part of it is up towards the top side of the map, but it's also being built in the bot lane thanks to those early kills that Reckless picked up. Wonder actually coming out pretty ahead in this trade.
Just could use the bear trap on the rope. Now he has the pocket pistol. Whippo's going to jump away, but Wonder still has the flash. Whippo has a flash of his own if he wants to try and get out of this. We're looking for the counter strike. Nemesis kills Caps in the mid lane and 1v1. Wonder flashes away. Whippo chases him down, and Fnatic find 2 quick kills.
Fnatic answer immediately as Whippo comes up huge and Broxah finds a successful kill in the mid lane. Fnatic showcasing what they showcased last week. They can go toe-to-toe against G2 in the early game. They can match them individually, and they will punish them when they make these mistakes.
And it goes from bad to worse for Wonder up in this top lane. He made a very long roam as we take a look back at this mid lane play, and now Whippo's just getting further and further ahead of him.
Caps tries to use his fancy feet to avoid this situation. Mickey does what he can to assist, but The mobility of Nemesis and Broxah and the fact that Caps was so far up in the lane made it easy for the Fnatic mid-jungle duo to secure that kill, and now Fnatic extend their gold lead to 2K.
And some questions we asked coming into Pick and Ban was, have Fnatic got something new? Will G2 be able to read them like they read them in the final 3 games of the best of 5 last week? Well, Fnatic are showing us just how strong they can be in the early game as they go for a fight in the top lane. Jankos goes golden for a second, Broxah's on the chase, but he doesn't really have too much mana. Broxah with the Kingslayer will heal up, Wonder's on his way, doesn't have the charge, but Broxah's going to be slowed up, and Jankos is just looking for the belly bot. Broxah able to get behind the minions. Bwipo stuck underneath this tower, but I don't think G2 can go for this. Maybe they can. Caps on his way. Bwipo just needs enough to leave strike, but he's caught out, and Caps will get his first kill of the finals.
And you can see there, Wonder dismounted from Skarl. They were always going to go for that dive. They knew they have a perfect champion like Kled to empower that ability, and now they're going to force out the TP from Bwipo.
It looks like Bwipo overstayed in the top lane, and that allowed G2 to reset back on the map and set up for that dive. Broxah, unfortunately, was not in a position where he could really help, and Caps was able to find a successful roam up towards the top side. We can now see a lot of level 6s coming through for the supports, some cresting the level 9 mark as well, and those first items slowly getting closer to being completed.
And once again, thinking back to last week, as we go through this replay, we'll see just how G2 execute this dive, because at this point, I thought it was pretty much over.
Yeah, but the key thing to note is that Caps is setting to roam up towards top. Nemesis wants to try and answer, but he can't. He has to catch this mid-wave. So G2 have the time to overcommit to the dive.
There's a fight going on.
Happens.
Nicky's caught out. Reckless will take him out. And Perkz underneath the tower can do nothing to help his support. Jankos was coming in. The Cullen comes out, and Perkz just chips away at Hylissang's health bar, but he is way too healthy. He can stay around. Broxah actually working his way down into this bottom bush, maybe looking for the 3-on-1 dive. We'll see if Fnatic can execute as the Oracle's lanes is being popped here by Broxah. No ward in the second bush. Perkz might not know what's coming. Nemesis on his way down. Jankos waiting around the corner to try and defend his AD carry. But it looks like for the moment, Fnatic will be satisfied with turret plates. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Bwipo and Wonder are trading. Bwipo's looking for the plates as well, but Hylissang's going to go in. The cleanse away. Perkz there. Mickey looking for the stun, will land it. And Hylissang's caught off guard. Shutdown comes out from Jankos, the MVP of the split. Shows his worth for G2. And Mickey comes in just in time to equalize the score.
And while Bwipo was trying to keep Wonder locked down in the top lane because there is a TP discrepancy, the rest of G2 did collapse onto that bot lane terror and finally punish Fnatic for their aggression.
G2 able to answer back. The kills continue to remain the same, but it is Fnatic that are coming out ahead in the gold. Oh, we see Caps looking for Nemesis.
Got straight onto Nemesis, who's in the Twilight Shroud. Nemesis will jump away. Caps goes back, but Broxah now caught off guard. 3-on-1. Jankos takes the kill.
The bloodshed just does not slow down. G2 find themselves another kill onto Broxah, and now Perkz is top lane.
In the top lane for some reason, and Bwipo was not expecting that. Wonder with a bear trap on the rope will take the kill, and G2 have just put their foot on the accelerator.
And Fnatic just lost track of the back timer. Suddenly Perkz is now up into the top side of the map, walking all the way up there, and he gets involved. Bwipo has been in Wonder's face this entire game, again, trying to keep this Kled locked down. He also forced out the TP exchange, and I think the bloodshed's going to continue. That's a teleport.
Oh, here we go.
That's Hilly.
Teleport comes in, they're looking for Perkz, it's Reckless, it's Nemesis, they're both here for the party. Jankos and Mickey down towards the bottom side, but Perkz stunned up. The Solar Flare comes down and he eats it all. Reckless will take him out. And Fnatic have found a pick in the top lane.
And another great punish from the side of Fnatic. I love the fact that they too are not slowing down with their aggression. Great utilization of the teleport from both Nemesis and Reckless. The punish, the overextension.
Oh, G2 just find the catch.
G2 answer with another pick of their own. They find another kill. Fnatic now pushing up towards the top side. If they can secure this play, it's still overall worth it for Fnatic.
And you're still continuing to funnel gold exactly where you need it to be. Broxah in the area, shadowing underneath Hilly and Reckless to make sure that they can do this safely. Because if you step out anywhere, someone's going to find you and kill you.
So thank you very much, observers, for bringing up the gold, because we need to take a look at some of these differences.
Look at Reckless.
Carry. Reckless is 1.8k ahead of Perkz. Caps is ahead of Nemesis by about 700. Jankos is miles ahead of Broxah, 1.3k there. But we'll have to see how Fnatic are able to translate this large sum lead on Reckless into their mid-game.
This is what's so important for Fnatic. The fact that they've been able to match and answer a lot of the skirmishes from G2 means that they can transition quite cleanly from the mid into the late game. We already talked about how their team fighting can be so strong, but they also have great tools to be able to 1-3-1. If they set up pressure on the side lanes where they are stronger than the G2 members and then collapse, it's very easy for them to continue looking for fights like
Reckless
this.
puts the Feather Storm to try and dodge away. Caps locked up, and Reckless takes him out!
That's from bad to worse. If you are a G2 fan, that is the last thing that you need to have happen. Reckless is going to be so much farther ahead on this back. They have to kill him.
Skewer doesn't land, but Jankos able to knock Reckless back. Knows he doesn't have the ultimate for now. They'll back away. Fnatic satisfied with top and bot tower, but Wonder's coming in. Looks like he just wants to defend this mid-tier 1.
Because now here's the thing. Reckless can just be moved from point A to point B. He's already an item, or a half an item ahead of Perks. On back, he's going to be a full item ahead of Perks. So you just walk this Fed ADC, especially Ozaya, into any team fight and just win.
It looks like base tanking onto all of G2, and Perks is on his way. Boxer coming in from the side. Nemesis on the top as well. Watch that, Akali. See if you can jump into the backline. Not quite yet. Won't go for the engage. Fnatic happy enough. Just pushing G2 away. They're grouped up as 5 around this mountain. Drake, it seems that is their next objective.
Notice again on the mini-map how Fnatic have the top wave pushed in and the bot wave pushed in. They have these 2 strong solo laners that can maintain this level of pressure, which means that when they collapse and find a successful fight, it's easy for them to translate that into an objective. G2 are forced to catch these waves. They lost too much health in the mid lane, and now they're on the back foot.
Fnatic should be looking for a moment to take the resets if they don't find these picks.
Innocent goes in double solar flare as Mickey jumps into the middle of it all. Yakko's there as well. Roxer will take out Mickey before the Deathbird from below can connect. And Fnatic equalizes at 10 and 10. Whippo's trading into Caps here, and it looks like Caps is taking the wrong end of that bargain.
And again, now that Fnatic are finally going to take these backs, they've gotten the Dragon, they got so many waves funneled into Reckless, a lot of kills. They are going to be very rich and very powerful when they get back onto the Rift.
The important thing to note is just like yesterday when we saw a lot of fighting in the early game, Fnatic is the team that is converting all of these skirmishes and fights into advantages. They're the ones that have 2 towers up over G2. They're the ones that have the gold on the correct carries, and they're setting themselves up much better transitioning into the mid game. So G2, they need to regain a little bit more control over the map because the more skirmishes that they take, the more it's hurting.
And in draft, we talked about the strength of scaling coming out from Fnatic. If you're getting into the mid game ahead, that only gets exemplified. Look at Reckless. Already has the Essence Reaver and the Rapid Fire complete on his way to an Infinity Edge.
Which means there's this tiny window where during this reset, G2 were trying to see what they got. They got some damage on the top tower. They didn't push it down. They're getting some damage on the bot tower. We'll see if they're actually able to put that one down. But right now, as soon as Fnatic, again, get their feet planted back on the Rift, start setting up for the next play, they are in a very strong position. G2 have to be creative about how they're going to get their foot back into this. And again, it's about the skirmishes.
Whippo jumps straight onto Caps. He tries to distort away. Jankos is waiting just around the corner, going to join his teammate. Whippo able to survive. Oh, look at the damage onto Jankos. Jankos has to use his ult just to get Whippo off his back.
The Trinity Force is now completed for Whippo, and he's working towards his Spear of Shojin. This guy is exceptionally strong, and you're seeing what he's capable of doing in a side lane. It's already got to a point where no one on the side of G2 can handle him. So they need to be finding 3v3s or 2v2s without Whippo being there. But again, because of how easy it is for Fnatic to generate pressure on a side lane, it should be easier for them to group up and force fights that should always be in their face.
This is the Rubik's Cube. You know, where do you force the skirmish if you don't want it to be around Whippo? And Nemesis also having completed the Gunblade, you have to be very careful about that lane assignment as well. Fnatic, they have so many tools about how they want to execute on this map, which is why it feels like at this point in the game, any objective that they walk up to, G2 are looking to try to trade.
Now Fnatic will take the Rift Tower. G2 not going to find a trade anywhere on the map. Both Nemesis and Whippo have pushed in the side lanes. And we saw last week how devastating Fnatic can be with a lead. They are not a team that slows the pace of the game. They are a team that continues to accelerate through the mid game into the late game if they ever get hit there. And with this Rift Tower, you have to expect they're going to do that again. Hylissang flashed in, wasn't able to find his mark. And now G2 will continue just to try and defend their mid tower. The Culling comes out, won't connect onto Reckless. And Perks really not having the impact so far in this game he'd want.
It is a bit dangerous for Fnatic as they approach this mid tower to try to push it down. If you had something like a Gragas, which is what G2 have capable, then approaching mid tower becomes that much safer because you can kind of sweep people off of it. So it feels like Fnatic are going to be more reliant on either Broxah using the Gragas cast to defend it or getting a pick in this mid.
Well, Caps is looking for the pick. He jumped in, but Reckless will pop the Feather Storm straight away. One of the strengths of Xayah is the ability to get away from dodge when you need to, and Reckless has shown a couple of times how happy he is to pop that ult to make sure he doesn't take any damage.
So Fnatic, we're approaching the 20-minute mark now, and they sit with a 2K gold lead. The Jax is incredibly strong, just hit that level 12 mark, and as both of you were saying earlier, the Gunblade being completed for the Akali as well means that she is a potent side lane threat. Notice how G2 very afraid to push past the river. They recognize that if they overextend, it's very easy for Fnatic to collapse, especially with all of their teleports up and available. With the Baron spawning relatively soon, I feel like we should start to see vision and priority shift towards that side of the map. Not necessarily to start it, but to use it as an objective to force the opposition into a fight, which is mainly what I think Fnatic is looking for, considering right now how strong they feel.
We'll see if Fnatic can use that Baron, the next objective, to draw G2 into a 5v5. At the moment, they have a 2,000 gold lead, but G2 are sieging their mid lane tower. Hylissang trying to act as that front line, gets pulled back. The Solar Flare comes out, though, and it hits on 2. Mickey has to flash away. Yakos uses the barrel, but Wonder gets caught as he charged in from the side.
And that is so many key ultimates from G2 used to try to break this mid lane tower, but it doesn't falter. Fnatic have to reset their cooldowns, but I expect this game to get stalled out. Again, they're really going to struggle to try to break this. I think they need to utilize their side lane strength that Vedius was talking about, you know, kicking out the Akali or kicking out the Jax into one of those side lanes, using them as a pressure point to leverage, because if you just continue to walk at this mid lane tower, we're going to continue to A-ramp, push the waves back and forth. There's just too much wave clear.
Yeah, you need to split G2 up and then threaten a potential flank. So you have to set up a deep push, but in order to do that, you need deep vision in the enemy side of the jungle, which right now is what Fnatic is not investing into. But at the same time, they don't need to accelerate this game. They feel very comfortable. They're quite happy to just slowly stack this farm, and they also have the Rift Herald. So this is the easiest way to secure that mid tower. Now we see Bwipo getting collapsed on, but he has nothing to fear. Jax is just going to jump out to safety.
But using the Rift Herald in tandem with that pressure point.
Hylissang scored out. Yeah, he went a little bit too deep trying to protect the Rift Herald.
Using the Herald in tandem with the pressure point of Bwipo into that bot lane, making sure that they didn't have all 5 members of G2 under the tower and that the Herald would secure pushing down that mid lane. So important to take that on the objective, because now Fnatic can really start speeding this game up again.
See if they can. G2 are going to answer with a mid tower of their own. 3-3 in the turret score. Fnatic have a couple of dragons in their back pocket. Reckless pots the Featherstorm, but the hook, it still pulls him back, and Yakos goes in. That was beautiful from G2. Perfection in a nutshell, and now Fnatic found the double team Ds to try and get back into the fight. Wonder was coming in the side, but Fnatic cannot answer for their AD carry's death.
Mickey makes up for his early game blunders with a beautiful hook onto a Reckless that had already flashed away. Great pick, results in a tower kill in favor of G2, but they can't convert it into much more.
But the key thing that I want to underline is the flash being down.
Look at the Jax. Bwipo chasing down Perkz. Perkz doesn't have flash anymore, but he has got a blast going, and he hasn't got a light. Bwipo shuts down Perkz.
Got him. And now both AD carries missing their flash. That means that when we fight over this big Baron that both these teams like to take between 23 and 25 minutes, Reckless and Perkz are playing on a knife edge.
Caps is going for this, straight onto Reckless, but the Solar Flare will land, and Caps dived into his former team and was denied his kill. Now Fnatic going to start up the Baron. G2 trying to answer it, but Fnatic have found the fight they want. They found the pick already. Perkz already dead. He's down for another 13 seconds. Nemesis on the front line, and G2 can do nothing about this. The first Baron of finals goes to Fnatic.
Or I guess Caps is just going to jump into his death, and Fnatic will be like, this is free. We don't even have to 5v5 for this.
G2 are faltering just like they did last week, and Fnatic are more than happy to punish. While the kill score is even, Fnatic have continuously come out ahead in the trades, and they do so once more. It all starts with here. Perkz basing next to a ward, and Bwipo flashes on top of him to help secure that kill. Nemesis is in tow to help secure it, and this just gives them control. They think that by having a numbers advantage, it then gives them access over the Baron, and they can get mid-prio. But then, G2 should have just conceded this. Instead, Caps jumps to his death. The chain CC coming through beautifully from Fnatic's duo, and then Nemesis just zones G2 away to allow Fnatic to secure the first Baron of Finals.
Yeah, frankly, just a huge mistake there for Caps.
And now Fnatic with the power of Jax in a side lane. Trinity Force and Spirit of Sojourn. Baron empowered minions pushing in that side wave. Nemesis going up towards top. It's the 1-3-1 that you two have both mentioned throughout the course of the game. Fnatic can enact it now and look to pressure G2, just like they did Schalke yesterday.
But now it's just about lane assignments for Fnatic. Their Akali and Jax are a very big deal. It's going to be hard, and even they don't have to wait for the side lanes. You can see how much damage Reckless is doing because he was snowballed so far ahead, already completed 3 items on the Xayah. Everyone is online for Fnatic, and G2 just have to figure out how they're going to stop the bleeding, but they will surely give up something else on the map when they decide to commit their members.
We'll see if Fnatic can break into the G2 base with this Baron. 2 minutes left on it. At the moment, Nemesis and Whippo just keeping those sideways interesting for G2, but the mid tower still yet to fall. Reckless trying to clear out a little bit of vision off towards the side, and the cannon minion is doing all the work. Perkz eventually will clear it away, but that tower is one shot from down. Fnatic continue to push G2 back, continue to pen them back in this game.
Patient play from Fnatic, just divide and conquer. Force G2 to split up. Use the fact that you have level advantages and item advantages to bully these members away. Bait G2 to come to you to allow you to secure these objectives, and Nemesis demonstrating it beautifully in the bottom of your screen. 2 members go top, Fnatic trade it for 2 towers.
And now Fnatic are just going to knock straight on this door. Mickey on the front line, Hylissang's going to get stunned up, but they're just looking for the tower. Hylissang down to about half HP, the Ignite ticking away, but Perkz doesn't have the mana to answer back. Whippo's pushed in that bot lane, that wave is about to hit the turret as well. Nemesis backing away, doesn't have teleport, so can't rejoin this fight too soon, and G2 have been able to hold on to their inhibitor towers.
Yeah, it looks like instead Fnatic are going to reset. The Mountain Dragon will be spawning in 1 minute. It felt like the waves weren't quite as synced as Fnatic would have wanted to have them all crashing 3 times, but nonetheless, they get both the mid and the bot tower, so still obviously an advantageous play, 3,000 Baron.
I feel like it also just sets up nicely for the next Baron and next Baron and Drake, because by securing those objectives, they could probably still use the next 30 seconds to secure the tier 2 in top lane, and that means that they can gain full control over the top side jungle and just leave Whippo to split push in the bot side of the map. Once the Baron ends and respawns, he will have his TP up and available, and look, G2 think this half of the map belongs to them. It doesn't.
Caps locked up, flashes away from the solar flare, and the rest of G2 will escape. Well, Jankos at least survives. Mickey, though, caught out a little bit by Nemesis, will just dodge away, and Fnatic are controlling the map impeccably. The Mountain Drake up in 5 seconds time. Baron just a little bit of time before that one comes back up as the Baron buff has worn off, but Fnatic used it beautifully.
Slow and steady wins the race is what Fnatic is talking about right now. They don't need to rush anything. They know that the next Baron is theirs. They know they're going to secure this next mountain, and with double mounting, securing the next spawning Baron will be huge, and that means for G2, they're hoping for a last-ditch fight. But with their comp, it was all about finding those successful early skirmishes. But Fnatic answered so perfectly. They traded evenly in the early game, and they were the ones converting those skirmishes into objectives, which meant that they came into the mid-game with this lead, and now G2 finds themselves in a position where, unless they find the perfect team fight, it's going to be very difficult for them to come back into game 1.
And I think that perfect team fight does start with the vision control, because G2's composition is still kind of a sucker punch comp. If they find you and you don't know that they're there, they can just kill you.
But Hylissang is the tankiest member of Fnatic. Jankos goes golden for the second. Caps trying to get him from the side. Reckless uses the Feather Storm. Hylissang's still alive, and Jankos will be shut down. Here comes the charge in from the side as G2 are looking for the fight. Hylissang's going to go down, off towards the side as well. Mickey has fallen, and Fnatic are coming out on top. G2 can do nothing about it. One just dismounted. G2 destroyed as Fnatic find the fight.
And you hit the key point there. The tankiest member, it was Hilly that they found. If it was Nemesis, if it was Reckless, if it was even Broxa, you have Gragas, you have LeBlanc, you have Pipe. You should be able to just immediately assassinate someone, but they couldn't find the target that they needed. G2 have been kicked around all game, forced off of the Baron, double mountain. Fnatic can take whatever they want.
Perkz right now looking for Board. Oh, but he doesn't realize that Nemesis and Broxa are right behind him.
I think he does now, Vedius. Perkz going to dodge away, but Nemesis is on the chase. Fnatic are on the chase, and Whippo takes his 3rd kill of the game. Caps behind enemy lines here, maybe thinking Reckless is going to start off the red buff. He knows it. Reckless jumps on, flashes away. Caps on the chase. Reckless. Oh, it's all Reckless. It's all Reckless and Hylissang. It's all Fnatic. Caps cannot find the pick, and Fnatic slap him down.
Fnatic now sit with a 9,000 gold lead, 28.5 minutes in. So many people wondered, would Fnatic crumble after their defeat versus G2 last week? And the answer is no. They smashed Schalke yesterday. They're smashing G2 in game 1. And look at the execution here from Hylissang. Notice how he flashes away from the ultimate from Mickey to prevent him getting that reset. And because he survives for so long, it gives Fnatic the time to answer back with the damage, with the shutdowns, and Fnatic walk away the victors.
In our Alienware replay, you can see Caps thinks he's got Reckless. The Phantom Dancer shield at the end here, saving Reckless's life, and Hylissang is there to stand by his AD carry at the end.
And the key thing for me here is that Fnatic beat G2 in Standard League of Legends. Fnatic priority was to deny Heli his pike. He pulls out the Leona, and he has had some hero moments and some clutch ultimates this game. And otherwise, it's just Standard. You know, there's nothing special here from Fnatic. It's not even necessarily their Aatroxes, the Karmas, the comfort picks that were taken away from them. They actually just ran a clean game back at G2 and beat them what looks like very handedly so far.
I also think that the adaptations that they showcased in the draft, the fact that they were able to get Akali, Sylas, and Xayah, we were talking about it. If you give a strong team this trio, you're immediately thinking to yourself, oh, well, that's scary. Fun fact, if you give it to Fnatic, it doesn't matter if G2, this team still looks really scary, and that's exactly what they've done.
To me, it kind of reeks of disrespect, and I don't think G2 will make this mistake again.
I don't think they expected Fnatic to prioritize the Sylas the way they did, considering how often they banned it last week, and Fnatic showing adaptation and development in the last week, and showcasing they can still challenge the likes of G2. Of course, they still have to break into the base, they still have to secure this win, but right now, things are looking great for Fnatic.
It's by the numbers for Fnatic. They put Nemesis in top, Whipper in bot, and now G2 think maybe we can find a pick on the side lane. Nemesis trying to get away. He chunks out Wonder. The charge comes out. Teleport coming in behind G2 now as Nemesis goes golden for the second. Reckless and Broxah are on their way. Whippo fighting down towards the bottom side. Wonder trying to chase onto Nemesis. Caps is there as well, but Nemesis will take him out in the 1v3. Meanwhile, Whippo is fighting down towards the bottom side. Now kill Jankos. Caps trying to escape. Eventually will be able to distort away. And it looks like Mickey will escape in that bush as well. Gets back to base. But meanwhile, Whippo and Hylissang are knocking on the door of Fnatic. Reckless is going to teleport in, and this may be game one done in favor of Fnatic.
Fnatic taking advantage of G2's last stand and just crushing them underfoot. That's going to be the first inhibitor of the game secured for Fnatic. They're looking to take game one. Reckless!
Oh, Reckless almost gets out. Perks, he'll take him out. Caps lands the chains, but Reckless rooted up. Doesn't really mean too much. Caps flashes away the death from below. Stolen away by Broxah, won't be enough damage, but now the Nexus turrets are the target. Hylissang, Reckless, the double kill.
Toe-to-toe. We talk about how both these teams are two of the best early game teams we have in Europe. Maybe even in the world. But when we look at how Fnatic play the early game versus G2, it feels like that Fnatic trade these early skirmishes for objectives, whereas G2 tried to trade the early skirmishes for pressure. And the reality is they couldn't use that pressure to convert into anything else, whereas Fnatic was constantly coming out on top.
Have to give a huge shout out and credit to the bot lane of Fnatic. Again, the first time that this best of 5 happened between these two squads. Hilly and Reckless were winning 2v2s that they just should not have been winning. Mickey's performance definitely came into question. He was cleaner this time around, but consistently...
Even then, a lot of mistakes in this game for Mickey.
But consistently, Fnatic, Reckless, and Hilly are beating Perks and Mickey. Yep. And you cannot lose the bottom side of that. Everything seems to crumble from there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, you know, at what point do you have to stop saying Mickey is underperforming versus, well, the bot lane is just better? Smashing. Exactly.
I mean, when Hylissang can pick a champion he hasn't played on stage for 4 years and just managed to beat down G2 as well as they did this game, I think you have to say Fnatic are performing exceptionally well. An incredible showing by them in game one. And I really wonder how G2 are going to react to this, because that didn't feel the way that we saw Fnatic beat them last week. It felt like a demolition.
But you're still kind of picking on what we know are some of the weaknesses of G2. The fact that you know that Mickey and Perks will try to fight you. And yes, it's not the strongest 2v2, especially when you look at Xayah Leona. You know, things are not as cut and dry, but bring tools. And I think Fnatic realized that. Bring firepower and bring tools to punish that aggression, because you know Perks and Mickey are going to go for the punch, so just punch them back.
Well, Fnatic landed the first punch in this series. For now, we're going to hand it over to the analyst desk to break down game one.
Thank you very much, Fnatic. They have shown up and they have taken game 1 in the finals in Athens over G2 Esports. And it reminisced so much to last week when they did the same thing in game 1 and completely ran over G2 Esports. And what I want to get at with this desk segment is looking at how similar or how different it was and how they did it in game 1. So talk to me about the picks and bans, Ender.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me was that Fnatic got just about everything they could have possibly wanted. When you look at the first 3 picks, Akali, Sylas, Xayah, very powerful 3-man core when we just look at power picks across the league. And then they followed up with the Leona Jax. Those are the counter picks I wanted to see. Hylissang on something that can engage and shut down both the Pyke and the LeBlanc from the side of G2, as well as the Jax for Bwipo in the top lane.
I think what we saw here as well was a huge gamble from G2's part. They first picked the Pyke and they assumed that Fnatic are just going to draft the same. They picked the Sylas in the jungle, which is a new pick, the Leona as a counter, and already there they were just thrown off because all of a sudden they didn't have the Sylas counter into Akali, and then we saw the leveling that just didn't work out.
This is what we talk about when we said Fnatic could benefit more from having this extra week after losing, because they just needed to add a couple of extra things to their draft to suddenly start getting the advantages. Yes, G2 pick blue, they gamble on the Pyke as you highlight, but support counter pick in this series and last series was very, very huge. There was only one really super successful game where you blind pick support in that series.
And we saw how important the bot lane picks in general was, as well as the jungle. When we get into that game, what on earth was going on in that bottom lane? Try and break it down for me. We're going to take a look at the replays. And why was it all going down bottom?
Right, I mean, well, it starts off very early level 2 down here with a big blunder, I feel, from Mickey. They're both playing for level 2, trying to finish off the last melee minion inside of the creep wave. You see, G2 hit it first, but then with the lockdown CC, Fnatic are able to take over to level 2 and that minion goes
and
down.
No E on Pyke.
Mickey puts Hylissang right on top of him, so he instantly gets CC'd. The Ignite goes down as well. There's just not a lot you can do there after Mickey went too far. And this is something we saw from Mickey in particular last week, where the early games, he did not look like his usual self, and he was dying just in this raw 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, he was very greedy. I think Jankos actually tries his best here, obviously, to kind of stabilize it. At this point, I was like, damn, this really sucks for Perkz because he doesn't have teleport. He's going to lose so much. But then because another fight breaks out, yes, he dies, but so does Reckless. So the CS actually stayed even. So that was at least a small win for G2 there. But of course, the top laners have to join as well.
I think what's crazy in all of this is Sylas really didn't participate. And Broxah, we always credit him for being such a high-tempo jungler, always participating in the plays. But he should be very happy that his bot lane almost single-handedly just carried this game.
Absolutely, there we see it. Hylissang, because we always sing the praises of Reckless when he does well, but when Hilly is on, he is on, and he can single-handedly win you games.
2 weeks in a row now where it feels to me like Hilly shows up more prepared in game 1 to actually instantly perform and punish Mickey for making some mistakes in the early game. The Leona pick was great for him. He had a lot of successful picks, also on caps and so on, late on in the game. So I think Hylissang deserves so much credit for this first game.
I also felt as a kind of callback to the previous series that they played, when Hylissang was, for example, playing the Thresh, it looked a lot worse. I think Fnatic loves it when Hylissang plays something with a lot of initiative where he can say, I'm going in, because that is his mastery. Just finding those opportunities to always find the engages, and throughout the game we saw that.
That it is. Played fantastically. Someone else who played great, but unfortunately didn't win for him. The MVP here today, Jankos. We talked a lot about the fact that when everything's going well, he has the easiest job in the world. But when it's not going well, it is so difficult for him because his teammates just keep running it down.
Yeah, and that's why we want to kind of highlight this, because it actually kept G2 in the game. Specifically the fact that every single lane were fighting and they were all screaming for Jankos. He was bot lane, then he goes top lane where Wonders died 1v1 against the Jax, a mistake on his side and a good outplay from Bwipo. But we see Jankos consistently pull off these plays and actually babysit lanes who are under pressure.
Exactly, and we look like 17 minutes into this game, the gold graph got brought up. Reckless and Jankos were the two big carries, the ones with all the money on these teams. Reckless had 18,000 gold. Jankos, the second most in the game, 16,000. So it was this huge disparity. Even though Jankos was trying his best, he's playing jungle. He can't get the same amount of resources. He can't do the same amount of damage. And that's ultimately why I felt like Reckless had a much better chance to carry.
And as we look at this final,
The third time, second time, I think you have to call into question now because always we brush off G2's mistakes like, oh, they're not focused, oh, this is the best of 5. If they lose the one, they can still play and so forth. But we have to call their consistency into question. Yeah. Are they taking the game seriously enough or are they just inconsistent as a team?
Let's make it clear. Fnatic mechanically can match G2.
Yeah.
You said it already in the pre-game shocks, 100% agree. Fnatic can match these players on G2 side. That means if you are not playing as well as you can in these skirmishes, if you're doing some of these like Cap's mistake right there where he's feeling like, come on, I can see what happens if I jump in. He already did it once. He disrespects the fact that Hylissang can be super quick on clicking Q onto him and stunning him, keeping him in place. I think 2 weeks in a row now, we have seen that Fnatic, they show up a lot better in game 1. They prepare much better, especially mentally when it comes to preparing for these games and actually instantly delivering in these skirmishes.
And that brings me back to the question I posed at the beginning of the desk segment. How different or how similar was it to last week's Game 1 and series? I feel like it is different in that we've seen new picks, we've seen the same mechanical prowess, but we've seen just as strong as a Fnatic.
I think the biggest difference for me was Brox's influence in this game, because in this game, it really was just his team hard winning. 2v2 bottom lane, 1v1 top lane went their favor. Brox came mid lane and got that kill onto Caps. Right. But really, it was the solo lanes or just the lanes by themselves of Fnatic.
But is it going to be enough this time?
I think so.
I mean, I think the big difference here is they didn't rely on a specific pick like Twisted Fate. It actually wasn't a draft where we said, that one pick, oh my god, it can never happen again. That's what happened to TF in the previous series. It's not the case here. I think Fnatic are matching him very well.
I think if we want to see G2 stepping up, we need to make sure that Mickey X, Caps, and Wunder play much better than in this game. I think also the draft, in the words of the layman, it was a complete end. They took a gamble.
You want the first pick
Akali. It just didn't
Akali.
work. The first pick Akali, please, or the first pick Xayah, that works for me too, because the LeBlanc answer just didn't work out when the bottom was so explosive, and that's what Fnatic wants. They want explosive bot lane, they want Reckless to take up that trophy, and they want him to be the championship player that we know him to be.
Yeah, a lot to think about for G2 Esports, but it's Fnatic who made the first step towards the LEC title, but the reigning champions are looking to bounce back in Game 2.
Quiver and Wonder join the fight in the bottom lane. Hylissang trying to survive, flashes forward. Stuns up Mickey. It's a double for Hylissang.
We see Caps looking for Nemesis.
Goes straight onto Nemesis, who's in the Twilight Shroud. Nemesis will jump away. Caps goes back, but Brox are now caught off guard. Fnatic have a couple of dragons in their back pocket. Reckless pops the Featherstorm, but the hook, it still pulls him back, and Yakos goes in. That was beautiful. Reckless uses the Featherstorm. Hylissang's still alive, and Yakos will be shut down. Here comes the charge in from the side as G2 are looking for the fight. Hylissang's going to go down, up towards the side as well. Mickey has fallen, and Fnatic are coming out on top. They have come to demolish G2, and in Game 1, they will cast them by the wayside. Fnatic are 1-0 up in Athens.
Hi, I'm Pringles. I'm Chips. Wait, are we doing this Mac versus PC thing? Guess so. Then I am the Mac of the chips. Cool. Then I'm the PC. Perfect for gaming. Easy to eat, no greasy hands. Wait, I'm into gaming too. You mean like into the keyboard crumbled? No. Or into the TeamSpeak rustling? No, I'm into that new frag LOL thing. Well then, GG, my friend.
This is my creed. The items that make me stronger. The potions that I drink. But all this leveling up means nothing if I don't level up myself. It's the healthy potions I drink in real life that make me stronger. You are your most important champion. To play like a pro, eat like a pro.
That's what we call a wild esports fan.
Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know you. I'm sad, I know you. Who am I? Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know you. I'm sad, I know you. That you fade alone. If you ever go, that you fade alone. If you ever go, that you decide if you decide someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know you. I'm sad, I know you. If you ever try to let go. Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know you. I'm sad, I know you. Who am I? Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know you. I'm sad, I know you. That you fade alone. If you ever go,
Welcome back to the LEC Summer Final. And guys, what a game one we had on our hands. 7 kills in the first 3 minutes, 30-odd kills in the entire game. How are you feeling after that?
Woo! I am so excited. This is what I wanted to see from our final between G2 and Fnatic. And you know that after a defeat like that, G2 is going to be feeling the fire. They do not crumble under the pressure. They always look to bounce back, which means G2 will adapt, they will make changes, and we're going to have an even more exciting game too.
I mean, you say that they will adapt and they will make changes, but we are having the same side selection. Again, it is going to be G2 on the blue side, Fnatic on that red side, and so we could actually have a run back of the same draft. So I'm curious, what is going to be the priority pick for G2? Is it going to be another Rakan ban into a first pick Pyke, or will they start to take something like the Akali, the Sylas, or even the Xayah up in priority?
I think that's the big question, especially since the Pyke priority did not work for them in game one. Also, we have to wonder if Fnatic have something else in their back pocket. They've shown that they can 1-3-1, they can play a very strong early game, but have they prepared something else over the last week?
Well, that's what's on our mind. Right now, Fnatic, they sit in a comfortable position with a strong game one performance. And I think what impressed me the most with how every single time a fight happened, Fnatic was willing to challenge them. They answered them, and you need that to play against G2 because we've been talking about it all split long. This team will fight you, and even if they're at a deficit, they will continue to fight you. So you have to be willing to be just as proactive as them, and Fnatic do it beautifully.
But the difference is, what do you get for the fights? And that's where the breaking point of the game was. Every single time Fnatic won those fights, it transitioned into something else. Like you said, Fnatic were fighting for the objective, where G2 were fighting for the pressure.
As you said, Vedius, G2 are on the blue side. Oh, sorry, Frosk. G2 are on the blue side once again, and it's an Aatrox ban away by G2. Immediately, Fnatic say, we'll get rid of the Yuumi, and G2 say, okay, Twisted Fate is no more in this game.
Yeah, and just to speed run, if everything stays the same, these last bans would be the likes of the Qiyana and the Rakan. So far, the exact same run back of the game one draft.
So we're likely going to be seeing, as you rightly said, the Qiyana. If G2 were to make any pivots, I think they could consider banning away the Akali, or they could look to ban away the Pyke for themselves. Unless they believe that they have an answer to Pyke of their own, there are a lot of options available to G2 Esports, but they're going to keep it the same. They're going to ban away the Rakan. This to me suggests that Akali or Sylas has to be higher on the priority list for G2 Esports.
So it's the same bans as game one. G2 here looking at that Akali or the Sylas. Immediately they go towards the Sylas.
Yeah, and there's just more power in Sylas in terms of his flexibility. It also then denies a lot of the other power picks that are left open because Sylas can use their power against them. So I don't mind the Sylas priority over the likes of that Akali and the Pyke.
I do think, though, that Fnatic will just look to lock in the Akali and the Xayah right now. It's a tried and true strategy for them. It's something that they're very comfortable on. And I think that you can still flex the Akali. So if you do not want to play it into the Sylas, then you can move it between top lane and the mid lane as well.
And then you are expecting that if the Xayah does get locked in, that you're probably going to see the Xayah Rakan, or excuse me, not the Rakan, it is banned away. Lost my point.
We could very well
I was really excited. I was like, Xayah Rakan, it'll be amazing.
Xayah Nautilus is a high probability of coming through. It's not something that Hillerslang puts a high priority on, but instead it looks like Fnatic are going to prioritize the jungle pick with the Gragas.
With the likes of Gragas, it does now mean that you don't have to take the Xayah. Kai'Sa becomes that more valuable because of the synergy between these champions. Gragas' ultimate as well as the Kai'Sa ultimate. And while that is most likely Brox's champion, Hilly can also take that as a very aggressive kill-oriented 2v2.
And we'll see how G2 want to respond to it. They're going to lock in the Thresh for Mickey alongside the Kai'Sa you were talking about, Frost. So you expect Fnatic now to look towards that Xayah.
Last time we did see the Thresh Kai'Sa, it came out of Upset and Ignar, and it was against Brox's Gragas if he ends up taking that pick. And it was so bad that Ignar had to take Lantern level 1 because you fear the level 2 gank that Broxel likes to do for his bot lane.
You know, it's funny because Mickey randomly getting caught out in game one, now insta-locking Thresh. It's almost like him and Hillerslang have swapped places. This is what you typically expect from the Fnatic support, who seems to be showing way more consistency throughout playoffs. But we will see the Xayah now locked in for Fnatic. No real surprises, tried and true strategy from Fnatic. And while many may say that they funnel onto specific picks, if it works, Fnatic believe that they don't need to change it.
This is the thing we've talked so often about. What have Fnatic changed? What can they bring into this series versus G2? Well, if they can just do the same thing and keep winning, they don't need to have any of these inventive picks. They don't need to look for things like Mord and Pyke in the bottom lane. G2 here going to ban out the Jax. Bwipo will not get his hands on that. Sejuani taken away from Jankos. I'm sure he's smiling, although Grabs probably isn't.
Now we're going to see if the Kled is also going to hit the ban bench, or if Wonder's going to get his hands on that pick again, especially with the Jax being taken away, probably going to free it up. It means that if he gets the Kled, he can look to roam and not be punished so hard by a champion like Jax that scales so well in the lane.
I wonder what supports G2 could look to ban away. Things like Braum or Alistar should be considered to be taken off the table. Both pretty solid matchups into the Thresh. Pyke is, of course, still up and available. A bit more of a skill matchup if Fnatic want to go for it. But they have a lot of options right now, and G2 are going to keep those options open. Their focus is on securing a better winning matchup for Wonder in the top side of the map. And I think that's smart, because when we look back to how Fnatic typically play, they do not usually play to the top side of the map. So if you can get a winning matchup for Wonder, you can just leave him isolated and he will come out on top of that matchup. So I feel like that is the direction that G2 is heading in right now.
Well, we will see the Morgana locked in here for Fnatic. That's their bottom lane all rounded out. G2 immediately lock the Jarvan. Could be Sylas mid, of course, so that Jarvan can go towards the jungle. And once again, it's Wonder on his Kled.
I want to speak quickly back to the Morgana. I agree with you. It feels like we are looking at a very safe, pushing-oriented bot lane with Reckless and Hilly, so they're recognizing that G2 might want to attack that bot lane again and bringing things like the Black Shield and the pushing power that these two champions bring to kind of diffuse that situation. Oh, I would love to see Shen.
Okay, we're going to get the Renekton. So another comfort for Bwipo. Definitely not a weak matchup, but it is something that Wonder did play into Bwipo last week. And Broxah did not give him that much support in the early game, in Game 3. But to be fair, it didn't matter, because Nemesis was sitting at 4-0 coming into 15 minutes. Reckless was in a similar position, and in that Game 3, Fnatic were in a position to secure the victory over G2 Esports. And by picking a very similar draft to what they did in Game 3 against G2, they're looking to get Game 2 in this series.
I mean, the reality is that you're looking for champions that spike very hard off of 1 and 2 items. These games go so fast, you don't really need to be that concerned with scaling potential. So just like the Jax Renekton, as soon as he gets Spear of Shojin, he does become an absolute monster, and the game should be short enough that he never really does have that fall-off moment.
I do feel, though, that for G2, they have a lot more scaling options this time around than they did in the last game. So if it's as skirmish-heavy as it was, G2 have way more options to come back into the game. Things like the Kai'Sa, the Sylas, the Kled, all work extremely well the later the game goes on. So I feel like the G2 have just given themselves a few more options this time around.
Well, we'll see if they're able to use any of those options, or if Fnatic will go to match point in this series after a dominant Game 1. They've changed up their draft just a little bit, but it's still very much the Fnatic we have seen so many times before. G2 need to find a way to fight back, and they think they can do it through this Jarvan for Jankos. Oh, well, for now, though, we're going to pass to Youngbuck and an interview.
Thank you, guys. Youngbuck, tell me about drafting red side against G2. What is the plan here?
The plan is to adapt to what they're going to do. We knew they were not going to pick Pyke again, so we knew it was probably going to be a solo laner, and we just wanted to match it really early in the draft so that we can keep our options open later on.
Well, we'll see how it goes now. I think you noticed the amount of fans cheering for Fnatic today. Can you please let them know that the same mistakes won't happen twice?
They will not happen twice.
You heard him. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Lawson.
So much enthusiasm.
Confident words from
Come on,
Youngbuck.
Joey.
I mean, this wasn't the game they made the mistakes in, though. That's next game.
But this was very similar draft. The only differences were Hylissang was actually on the Thresh, and Broxah was on the Lee Sin. So a little bit more pick-orientated, but you can see that with Fnatic's draft, they do have some team fight options, but it spikes very hard in the mid-game. Around 1, maybe 2 items is when the Akali and the Renekton really come online. And I'd love to see Fnatic actually invest more resources towards the top side of the map. Get Bwipo into a more favorable position, because Reckless and Hylissang in this matchup is very safe. You don't have to be afraid of a Kai'Sa Thresh, and I don't think you have to try and snowball.
I completely agree with you, Vedius, which is why I actually love to see Broxah starting on the bottom side of the map. A very common trend for Gragas is that they'll start top side, do a first clear, then back for their Predator. So Broxa is already setting himself up and getting a Ghost Leash from Whippo here to disguise where he's starting onto the map and potentially look for a gank top side.
Wonder, he won't have information on where Broxa is, but he will see Whippo getting late to lane. He will do that fake leash, give the impression that he did support Broxa. Jankos now going for the level 2 gank. Very common on solo queue Jarvan players. Let's see if the MVP can pull it off.
Nemesis still has his flash. Caps looking for it, jumps in. Nemesis flashes away early. Jankos wasn't able to find the connection. Whippo and Wonder trading in the top lane. That Coleman can do a huge amount of work, and Wonder is off Skull for the moment. Jankos is looking top.
Have a look at this pathing from Broxa. He went from blue into top Krugs. There is no vision towards the top side, but he's in a position to support his top laner. But now Whippo has no flash.
Whippo burned his flash, Wonder flashed away, and now Jankos is on the way. Broxa's on the top side of the map, but can he get there in time? Whippo trying to get away, doesn't have the slice and dice, and doesn't have a life left. G2 strike first.
And that's clever pathing that came out of Jankos and a very peculiar path that came out of Broxa. You can see what Whippo is thinking. He has his jungler on the top side on the Krug map. He figures he can go aggressive like that, but maybe some miscomms as Jankos walks across mid lane, now in Broxa's face.
Jankos still chasing in here onto Broxa. That Master of Cadence doing a lot of work. Broxa's going to try and get across. Jankos flashes, but the blast cone is in the right place for Broxa. He will escape, but he has to run away from his own jungle.
Broxa was forced to disengage because Caps had the push in the mid lane. Remember that Nemesis was forced to burn his flash after the level 2 gank came out from Jankos, and this is the most damage I've seen done from a level 2 Jarvan in pro play so far this split in the EU, or the LEC rather. He's now going to steal away the red buff, he's now going to walk away with level 3, and Broxa is going to be put very far behind.
And it feels like, yes, Fnatic tried to hide Broxa so he could try to attack the map, or they were trying to secure him and save him from the potential cross-map play from Jarvan. Jarvan's love to go red, go over the Dragon Wall, and then take away the blue. Broxa started on his blue buff, so that wasn't going to happen. But Jankos just rocked into his jungle and took everything.
And it's not only about how far Broxa's been put behind, it's how far Whippo's been put behind as well. He's 2 longswords down in this lane, and Wonder doesn't even need Jankos' help to take the kill in the 1v1. Wonder comes out on top. He's now 2-0 on this Kled.
We talked about this in the draft. If G2 can guarantee a winning matchup for Wonder, then this is a lane that Wonder knows he can come out on top of. Whippo was too aggressive in the early laning phase, and now he's getting punished. But Broxa, tried and true, comes the gank bot lane.
He's trying to get away. The Lancer's there. Mickey with a great flash. The hook doesn't quite connect, but there was a black shield on Broxa to save him if it did.
I think it was a little bit late on that black shield, so we'll see if Mickey's keeping track of Hilly's fingers there.
Now we see Caps trading against Nemesis. Remember that the last time these two played up against each other in this matchup, Nemesis actually successfully solo killed Caps and he was put behind. Now the support of Fnatic's jungler is hit. They're looking for Caps.
No flash on Broxa. Caps still has a flash of his own. He jumps back in. The Kingslayer isn't enough and Broxa will take the kill. Caps falls in the mid lane.
Yeah, Caps sitting on his flash. Broxa didn't really have to work very hard for that one. It's now top side.
Yeah, Whippo's still trading in here. He's a Doran's and 2 longswords down. And finally he's going to land onto Jankos in that bottom lane. Broxa still looking around mid. Caps is teleported into mid lane, and with Nemesis backing away, you expect him to burn his teleport in response.
So the junglers have abandoned farming and are only ganking lanes right now. I think only 3 or 4 camps have been taken in total, and both these teams are just focusing on trying to find these early skirmishes. Not as many kills 5 minutes into the game, but we can see G2 edging out into a slight gold advantage as Jankos crests the level 4 mark.
You will have a potential 2v2 in this mid lane as Jankos is making his way up here, but Broxa shadowing Nemesis, trying to protect him.
Cap still has his flash, he's jumping in, doesn't land the abductor. Broxa was there in the right place. Jankos coming in. Won't be able to do too much right now, but you can see Fnatic are not willing to give up anything without a fight.
Jankos still yet to take his blue buff. He's now going to make his way towards that and will finally secure the vast majority of his jungle, where we can see the top difference really starting to build out. Wonder with a 13 CS advantage over Whippo, 2 kills in his favor as well, and about 1,000 gold in his back pocket. So definitely a much more comfortable position for Wonder to be in compared to game 1.
But now it's how many times can Jankos get back to this lane to punish Whippo. As soon as he is level 6, he is going to have a lot more safety in this lane, obviously with access to his ultimate, as well as his flash about to come off of the cooldown. So Wonder needs to be really careful here. He tries to get the bounce back, but this is actually the perfect time to gank him.
Here comes Broxa. Whippo going in, will land the stun, but Wonder is able to remount. Now Broxa's looking for the body slam, will connect. Wonder hits 6 and charges his way away.
Great utilization of the Kled ultimate to avoid that gank from Fnatic. He walks away with his life.
But that was so close, come on.
Yeah, it was called outplay.
Yeah, okay.
Great stuff. Calculated indeed.
Strong assist from the minion.
Broxah does try to set up a gang top, but unfortunately it does not result in a kill in favor of Fnatic. Now we see Jankos making the cross-map play happen. He's standing up the Drake. He will get support from his mid and bot lane should any danger come to him, and he should be able to secure this one without much context.
So 7 minutes in, G2 will get the first dragon of the game. They have a 1,000 gold lead, predominantly sitting in Wonder's back pocket. He's finished a Tiamat now on the Kled, and it seems like whenever we see G2 and Fnatic play against each other, one team accelerates to an early lead, and here it feels like G2 are in the ascendancy.
It feels like G2 are going to have to tap the brakes a little bit for Jankos in particular. Maybe not for this top lane, but for Jankos in particular, he really wants access to his level 6. He's now gone back over the wall, picked up his red buff, so finally, there we go. He hadn't scaled it. I was like, please tell me Jankos scaled Cataclysm. He scaled it in base, it's fine.
Yeah, he did. And Jankos is a player that I feel has really been performing extremely well so far in this series. Even at the deficit in game 1, you can see how hard he tried to claw the game back for G2. He is the MVP of the summer split, and I feel like so far in this series, he's demonstrating what he's capable of.
Definitely showing us just how strong he can be. It took him so many attempts to make it into a playoff final. It was only spring of this year that he got his first title, and now he's showing us just how much he deserves to be amongst the best in Europe. Wonder dismounted Whippo and him trade flashes. And that seems to be the state of affairs in the top lane for the time being.
We talked about Whippo's ability that once he had access to 6, I'll hold the point though.
Nemesis will hold on to his life. Whippo still trading onto Wonder here, and this is a little bit surprising. You thought that Wonder with such a gold lead would be able to trade into the Renekton, but Renekton so powerful early on.
Yeah, and again, back to the point, once Whippo had access to level 6, that there was going to be a window where he could try to abuse that, but now without the flashes and with that ultimate on cooldown, I like his back timing right here. He shoves out the wave. He's like, I gotta wait for this cooldown to be back up before it's safe that I overextend again, because action should be coming back towards that top side to punish.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. If anything, I would expect Jankos to path up towards the top side of the map. We can see that he is on Krugs right now. There are camps available on the top side of the map, and they can just look for a kill onto a flash of Whippo without the ultimate. Plenty of setup on one.
There could be the Lantern into a Cataclysm to force some sort of flash.
Ooh, you are right.
Reckless has the ult. Hylissang will have the black shield if needed. Jankos coming in. There's a control ward in the bush for G2.
This is so telegraphed.
Yeah, Fnatic's Spidey senses must be tingling right now.
I mean, Mickey's like hunting for the hook, swerving around the lane. You know that that Lantern's about to fly back into a bush.
And now Fnatic will see Jankos on the ward, so they'll know he was waiting just around the corner. They'll clear it out with the Oracle's Lens, but not really going to do too much for G2. And it does mean that Broxah and Whippo have a little bit of safety on the top side of the map for a moment.
For now, Whippo will push out that wave, given that he knows where Jankos is. Also going to gain some control over the top side river, and they can secure this Scuttle Crab as well. So this was the risk that Jankos ran when deciding not to try and play through top. He will lose a little bit of control. But of course, Caps actually having the push once again against the Akali will force him back out, and Whippo forced to play on the defense.
But now we have a very different game 2 from game 1, and I feel like a lot of that comes from Hilly having a pick like a Morgana versus his Leona. In game number 1, it was all action all the time, particularly in that bot lane. But when Hilly doesn't have the same tools like his Leona previously, you're suddenly seeing the game slow down a lot. Only 3 kills in 10 minutes. As I say that though, Broxah has slipped in underneath.
I'll be honest, my voice is thanking the teams for slowing down just a tad. Game 1 was a little bit of a too exciting for me, I'll have to say.
But I think the primary takeaway is kind of what the game state looks like differently when Fnatic's bot lane just doesn't hard muscle out G2's bot lane.
Looks like Wonder's hard muscling Whippo out in this top lane. Whippo's going to slice and dice back in. Jankos is on the top side of the map. Broxah on the bot. Nemesis and Caps trading in the mid lane, but Nemesis will be able to retreat back underneath the tower, and it looks like Jankos may have started up the Rift Herald here for G2.
They do have push on mid, with Caps making the rotation up. Teleport coming in from Perks as well.
G2 investing everything into the top side of the map. Whippo trying to get the kill. The Meekov, he'll heal up, but he can't quite get the kill. And G2 with 4 members strong on the top side will get their 3rd kill of the game.
Beautifully balanced there by Wonder, just managing the tower aggro enough so that Whippo is not able to find a return kill. Of course, Reckless is left alone on the bot side of the map to secure plates, but G2, with this Rift Herald, should be in a position to find some plates of their own.
Yeah, it's kind of the 2-for-1 special. The fact that they got the kills top, they've now made the swap up there, so you can see that Perks is going to answer back by also getting plates up into the top side on this Kai'Sa, also picked up the kill. I think G2 across the map are very happy with their position.
I mean, that TP setup was Actually very smart from the side of G2. Because on the reset of Perks, he then TP's top as the Rift Herald is being started. And like all of the pieces were in place to allow that movement to be very fluid and for Fnatic to have no answer. And Fnatic can't even secure many plays bot because Wonder then uses TP bot. Now he finds himself in a 2 versus 1, but they're not going to be able to push as fast as G2, who should right now be looking to use their Rift Herald somewhere else. But of course, the Infernal is now spawning soon.
And that's the thing that I really wanted to underline. G2 moving perfectly on time. They've shoved up the top side of the wave. Bwipo does have access to TP, but G2 can force him to use that if they start the fight for the Infernal right now.
Nemesis trading onto Perks down to about half HP, and that macro series of decisions, a lot of people look at G2 and they say, well, their games are very bloody, they're high kills per minute. That doesn't mean this team doesn't know how to play the map. They are so good at working out exactly how to make the most efficient play, and I think we just saw it.
It feels like once G2's lane stabilized, that it's like a domino effect. Everything gets set up so beautifully, and if you give Jankos the space that his laners haven't completely collapsed, that he's not trying to put out fires, that he can very quickly set up the map for 1, 2, 3 massive swings in favor of G2.
Oh, Nemesis is going in onto Caps here. Caps steals away the ultimate, but he'd use it in response. Boxer gets Mickey down towards the bottom side, and meanwhile in the mid lane, Caps is still chasing. Nemesis able to get away for the moment. Both of the mid laners have burnt their flashes.
So a bit of skirmishing back and forth between the two, but at the end of the day, Fnatic come out with a kill on the bot lane. They now, with their 3 members, are looking to secure some plates of their own, and G2 need to answer by moving up towards top and utilizing that Rift Herald, because Fnatic, with only Wonder here, should be able to contest the plates, but of course the wave not very big. Wonder going to hold the line for now.
And again, the danger of trying to dive that fled while Caps also has access to the TP. Meanwhile, cross-map, G2 continuing to make trades for plates. This might force Fnatic's hands to force something to happen here.
Mickey's on his way down here, and the teleport's coming from G2 straight away. So hard to dive. Eclair, he'll just dismount, but now he's going to charge in. And Broxer is the main target. Teleport in here, but behind by Fnatic. The Lantern will get Wonder to safety, and Bwipo just has to slice and dice away.
And frankly, Fnatic are behind the play here. G2 are still doing tons of damage up into the top side of the map, and it's only Nemesis to respond.
And this is just great TP usage from G2 once again. Nemesis used his TP to get back into the lane, but Caps held it, which meant that when that play happened in bot, he was in a position to assist his top laner, and Mickey was on the path bot as well. It feels like that everyone is in the right place at the right time, and as you guys were talking about, the moment this game slows down, G2 just seem to be playing the map a lot more patiently and are getting many more advantages over Fnatic.
We talked about it in draft as well. G2 have a strong scaling lineup. Kai'Sa can shred through you late game. Kled can do unreal amounts of damage. So coming in to the 15-minute mark, when we start to see the lanes open up, when we start to see vision be the main priority for these teams, G2 having a lead is not good news for Fnatic.
But we also talk about the item spikes for Fnatic, and they are now reaching those points. We get a quick replay of what happened to Mickey. He bases in a brush with a ward in it. Classic play that we very often see. He should have just based at the tower. He should have just taken the safe choice. Instead, he ends up getting picked off. But as we were saying, some of these core items have now been picked up for Fnatic, so they could actually look for fights. Once Bwipo and Nemesis hit level 11, I think that they're actually strong enough to be able to challenge G2, but they're going to go already.
Here we go. They know Caps doesn't have ult. He's stunned up, and here comes Boxer, but Caps steals away the ult and knocks Nemesis back into the tower, and Jankos is on his way. Nemesis has to get away, but the Cataclysm will chase him down and dunk him out of the fight. Boxer goes golden for the moment, but he is not going to get the gold medal for this play. Jankos, in the end, will take him out, and Jankos is impeccable on this Jarvan.
And that is a huge outplay from G2 there, and it means so much. At this point in the game, Fnatic are looking at their Renekton and looking at their Akali, and they're basically saying, okay, we're waiting for Reckless to get more gold in his pocket to scale up onto items, so I need to play around my 2 side laners. They tried to make it happen with the Akali, they're outplayed on it, and now they lose so much time in that setup.
And we've got to think about how G2 even got to this point. And it all comes back to the early game and Jankos once again. This guy's pathing, level 2 Jarvan ganks. He makes one happen mid, he makes one happen top. This means that Fnatic do not have early lanes that they can play around and find advantages. Now, Wonder going for a dive, don't think he's going to be able to pull that one off. But because Fnatic could not find these early advantages, it means that they haven't been able to challenge G2, and they have just been playing the map so much better, so much cleaner. So huge props to Jankos for setting all this up.
And speaking about playing the map, yeah, they're not going to get the dive on Bwipo, but they've got the wave coming in and the potential numbers that can collapse here.
Boxer is here. Jankos just forced away. Wonder still mounted up on Skull. It's pretty easy for him to get away. Fnatic looking for a play. Jankos face checks straight into a binding. The Lantern comes out. Mickey misses the hook, but Caps is here. And with Perks coming in from the side, Fnatic have to disengage.
So notice how G2 have actually brought Caps down to join the rest of the team. They have abandoned the top wave because they recognize